Hello and welcome to the Con Couple. I'm Richard.
I'm trying to figure out how to upgrade our microphone so we don't sound like we're in a tin can.
And we go to far too many cons every year.
I would say we go to too few cons.
Say your actual name.
Caroline.
Thank
You could
you.
just put my name in the show notes, and then we don't have to do this every single time.
It's supposed to be a consistent intro. That's how it works. You do a consistent style of intro, and that helps with your brand recognition.
We don't have a brand.
Yeah, I know.
Also, we don't have a consistent outro, which I feel is more important. We just kind of ramble on. I don't know if anyone actually listens to the end.
No, I've yet to find a podcast that has a consistent outro. They all have consistent intros, but not consistent outros.
That doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a consistent outro. You can't use the fact that other people do something as evidence that you should do it. It's a logical fallacy.
Welcome to the wonderful world of being married to a philosophy professor, ladies and gentlemen.
Got to use that this weekend, though.
You did. You want to tell the nice ladies and gentlemen and persons of non-binary, how do I normally phrase it? Persons of more interesting genders, where we have been this weekend?
We are at StarBase Indy, which, as you can expect, is in Indianapolis.
Yep. And
just as a reminder, if this is your first time listening to us, because we do have a significant portion of our population who exclusively listens to cons they were also at, which, valid.
That's a good choice.
We're recording this in our car on the way home from the con.
Yep.
Like we always do. We are using hands-free lapel mics, and we will stop recording if driving safety is a problem at any particular point in time. Yep. We have done in the past before, and we are keeping with all the laws, in this case, Indiana and Ohio.
Yep.
This is a 4-hour drive, so
it's only 3.5. It's not that bad.
It's 3 hours and 45 minutes. It's just we spent 15 minutes getting out of Indianapolis.
True.
And by the way, we do try to highlight things that are the con's fault and things that aren't the con's fault. I will say Indiana as a state, which is not against any of the cons in Indiana, your roads suck.
Yeah.
They are just awful.
Yeah, 70 is not a good road once it becomes part of Indiana.
Yeah, you'll probably hear a little bit of that as we get out, because the portion that's near, I think it's just they're trying to keep you in Indiana by any means possible, so they just keep the roads near there as pothole filled as possible.
So yeah.
So you might hear a bit of background noise. I am looking into getting us better mics, though, as I mentioned. So yes. I'm hoping that we will.
Yeah, it is the Thanksgiving weekend, so we're looking at some sales that are going on. We did have a listener write in and send us a suggestion of some potentially better microphones, and we are kind of looking at that particular brand. So
yes. I'm taking a couple other suggestions around that. Keep in mind, obviously, we have to be within our budgets and what works with an iPhone and what works in our cars, and also we're not making money from this.
Yeah.
So we're that type of podcast.
Yeah.
But that said, we did meet another fan this weekend, which is awesome.
Yeah, that was really nice.
So we'll talk a little bit more about the con and the stuff within it. And if you're not watching this in chronological order or at some other time, this con does take place the day after Thanksgiving and the weekend after Thanksgiving, as it has for the last few years. This is our third year we've gone.
Third year we've gone, but this is our first time doing multiple days. So previously, because we're idiots, we've driven down on Saturday morning, done the convention on Saturday, and then driven home.
Yeah. And people, I think, were surprised to know this year that we were there for multiple years, despite the fact that I am in a giant ball gown, just because I think we're there for effectively 4 hours.
Yeah,
we haven't seen or talked to a lot of people. Minus that one person in the vendor's hall who does remember us.
Yes, well, I keep buying stuff off her.
Yeah. You were supposed to shout her out. Did you remember the...
Yes. It is right here. I just need to make sure I get the right thing out of my pocket, because one of these things you're allowed to see and one of them you're not. Yes. But again, I was going to get onto that later. So,
yes, Kara Leaf Green Designs will probably put their information in the show notes along with some other stuff like we normally do.
Yep. But yeah, so again, it has been a good con, I would say.
Yeah.
We like this con.
We do.
There's a reason why we come back multiple years. This is our second year doing panels at it.
Yes.
Which again, we'll talk about it in a bit more detail once we get there. I will say the process of applying to do a panel at this con is very straightforward. They have an online sign-up form. You say what you want to do. My only extremely minor criticism of the online form is just if you are wanting to do multiple panels, you have to fill in some of the same stuff multiple times. That's fine. That's at worst very slightly annoying.
And they do have excellent panel reimbursement. If you do a panel, you basically get a badge for the whole weekend. It's a very good reimbursement policy.
Last year, you were doing a panel and I was your glamorous assistant, and we got a free badge each.
Yeah.
For
the entire
one
weekend.
panel for the entire weekend. Like, we only used one day of it, but we got a whole weekend pass just for doing that. Like, I love how good this con's like panel reimbursement policy is.
And they are more academically in focus con. They have some grants and endowments about educational content. So I am by far not the only PhD that's in any room of this con, which is awesome.
Yeah, so, like, I'll freely admit, most of the PhDs who come to this con are STEM PhDs.
There's one other humanities PhD.
Yeah, this is true. But again, like, ultimately, it's a bunch of Star Trek nerds talking about Star Trek and science and, like, in your case, ethical considerations that Star Trek likes to raise, and just, like, it's a really nice vibe con. Like, I do love it to bits.
And just as a reminder, unless you are either somebody with the con who's like accessible on their main page and so everyone would know your name, or if you're somebody who we've explicitly gotten permission to use your name, we don't say names on this podcast. That's just to protect people's identity. Not everyone wants that, and people deserve privacy when they're going to cons.
Yeah, we're not going to shout out somebody who we happen to meet, because for all we know, you were skiving off work, and we don't want that getting back to your work.
We are not snitches.
We're not snitches.
They get stitches.
They do, in fact, get stitches. And, like, healthcare in America is too expensive to need stitches unless it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, so we met a lot of people at cons. Like Bridget and James have a friend who's really awesome, but they don't want to be part of the podcast at all, and that's absolutely fine.
Completely legitimate.
And there's a lot of people like that, and that's okay.
Again, not everybody wants to have their name shouted out on the internet.
Yeah, that's valid. People deserve privacy. So that's our general policy. I will admit it's also partially because we're really bad with names.
That is frequently an issue.
But I do remember multiple names of the people we're talking about who we can't say just because we want to protect people's privacy this weekend. So
I'm going to take that back for the moment.
That said, if there are any PhDs or people like that you're interested in, they are listed on the website. So if there's a panel and you're like, hey, that person looks cool, feel free to look at the StarBase Indy website and you can probably find more information on them.
Yes. Yeah, well, the other thing I need to do next year if we do this again is, like, give a little bit more, like, links to our various bits and bobs that they can put on, as part of our bios. Because I kind of didn't do that this year, and I probably should have with hindsight.
Mm-hmm. So, do you want to start with the panel process, or do you want to start with...
Again, panel process was very, very smooth this year. It was basically just a case of I submitted both panels, but I submitted one of them in your name. So basically, the way because you have a lead panelist, and then you can list like other people who are assisting. Mm-hmm. So for your bioethics panel, I put you as the lead and me as the assistant. And then for the trivia panel I was running, I put me as the lead and you as the assistant. Mm-hmm. Which again was very easy to do. Like, no criticism or complaints about that part of the process. It was easy. And I think it was a few days later that we heard back with confirmation that they were interested. The one thing I will say is we only got one confirmation message saying this sounds great. I'll put it on the schedule. And up until the point at which the schedule came out, I wasn't 100% certain that they'd approved both of them or just one.
In fairness, you didn't follow up with them at all, which you easily could have.
Yeah, I could have asked the question, and I was just like, it's fine. I'll figure it out when the schedule comes out, because I think I had 9 other things on that week.
Yeah.
The communication at this con is generally pretty good. If you email them with a specific question, they are very good at getting back to you.
So but other than that, we were on the schedule.
Yep.
We didn't. I'm sure if we asked for certain time slots, we probably would have gotten them, but they just kind of put us on the schedule. And we were both on Saturday, which is by far their most popular day, so that was a lot of fun.
Yep. Yeah, you got 12, I got 5.
Yep, which both should have been popular times. We'll talk more about
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, it was a smooth, simple, easy process, no complaints.
Mm-hmm.
And they do actually, they have a lot of boxes for additional stuff you can put if you want to. Mm-hmm. Links to your stuff if you want that as part of your bio. You can upload a picture for their
yeah, they asked me for my headshot last year. They didn't this year. I think that's because they already had it. They do like to market their PhDs quite a bit, though, because they are funded by grants in addition to ticket sales. So I think that they do want to keep the educational content there. Yeah,
that's the thing. I could have uploaded a headshot when I submitted the panel. Mm-hmm. I didn't.
Yeah, they straight up asked me for one last year, I think, just because they really wanted one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they didn't ask this year. They might have. I haven't checked on your profile on the thing to know if they just use the one from last year?
I do have a bio that they still have saved,
Yeah.
because I do remember checking that. I don't think there was a picture next to it. I will say that.
Yeah, because I did write you a bio.
I will say just taking professional headshots, at least for me, just kind of sucks. I don't like doing it, which is weird. And this is something I didn't notice at this con and just kind of generally, and it's not a criticism of this con, but people like assume that because I'm in very elaborate costumes that I'm this very extroverted person, which I am once I'm comfortable. Like once I know you and I'm comfortable in a situation, I think I'm pretty extroverted generally.
You are.
But before then, it takes me a couple minutes to kind of warm up and get there.
Yes.
So that happened a couple times this week. I'm like, oh, you're elaborately dressed. You say something. And I'm like, give me a minute. I don't know the parameters of this room yet.
Yeah.
But not in a bad way. And everyone was very respectful of that.
Yes.
So.
Like, people were very, very good about, like, limits and all of that kind of stuff this weekend.
Yeah.
Like, generally speaking, identified Star Trek fans are quite respectful of.
Well, it's really cool that we're still having Star Trek cons. I wish there were more cons like this that continue to exist. And this is, I think, a really good one.
Yeah, kind of like in a lot of ways, this is kind of the archetypal, like, small science fiction convention, but, like, in a really good way.
It is, and there's just not enough of these anymore. Like, it doesn't have the same, like, youthful energy, I think, that anime cons do.
Yeah.
But I hope it continues to grow and bring in new people. Yeah. This is a con somewhat like steampunk that does skew a bit older, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's just, I want younger people to be going to cons like this.
Yes.
But we didn't hang out with people who are close to our age this weekend because I think we all just kind of gaggled together, which we'll talk about.
Yeah. Which again, like, part of the issue is, like, I do think some of these fandoms need some new younger blood. Which that was actually a comment they were making today, just purely from they've got a lot of, like, heavy equipment they need to load in and out, so they could do with some volunteers who are, below the age of 55.
Yeah, well, we were brainstorming ideas a little bit, and I am going to explore. I don't know if it's going to happen next year, but I hope the con is around long enough that I can at least try it at some point of building a class to have students go to this convention, which I do think I could do. I don't know if I'll have the runway space to do it in between now and a year from now, because with academia, everything requires meticulous amounts of planning, but it's something I want to, I think, work towards, because I would love to teach a class on philosophy and science fiction. That's incredibly easy. It effectively writes itself. And this con would be a great, joiner to that a lot. So,
and that would potentially, because somebody was pitching to us, like, the idea of, getting a bus and bringing a bunch of people who are kind of coming from our direction together. Like, honestly, if we could get just a bus full of students to come to this, that'd be great. Yeah.
It would bring a bunch of new sci-fi fans, a bunch of kids who are nerdy. And the thing about, people who are 19 years old is they have a bunch of nerdy interests, but they don't understand how the world works yet. So I don't think know that cons like this exist or that they can just go to them. Because they don't have any of the logistical functions in their brains yet. No offense to the 19-year-olds out there.
Plus, again, you've got to remember that certainly at our university, a lot of them come from, underprivileged families is probably the best way to describe it, and they haven't necessarily had the opportunity to.
And a lot of them I know probably can't, because we do student or study abroad trips with our students, but those do tend to be expensive. This would be, I think, a version of at least a miniature trip that they could go on that would definitely be less than $1,000. I'm very confident about that.
Oh yeah, especially they double up on rooms and all that kind of jazz like that. There are a lot of ways they could potentially,
Yeah, there still would likely be a cost, but I think it would be a cost that's a lot more reasonable. And would give students who don't have because one thing that came up this weekend is this con actually is great for those of us who don't have Thanksgiving plans or families or things like that, and or want to avoid them.
Yep.
Funny story about that.
Yeah, we should probably include that part of the story if we're honest.
Yeah. So it offers them kind of a respite, which I was actually grateful for this weekend. Segue. Because we had no idea what our Thanksgiving plans were this weekend.
Yeah, no, not a clue.
So as a reminder, Richard's parents are in the UK, and Thanksgiving, one, is not a holiday in the UK, and two, even if it was, it's kind of not feasible for us to go over there for 3 days, then come back here.
Yeah, not doing that. I've done that.
It wasn't fun, and you only did that because there was a snowstorm.
Yeah, basically I was supposed to go back to the UK for a week and a half for visa reasons, and it ended up being a 3-day round trip purely because there was a snowstorm and I got stuck here for an extra week. Yeah, that was a while back for the record.
Yeah, so sometimes we see my dad and his girlfriend/wife. it's not even worth getting into that one.
They're not married, but they've been together over a decade.
That's the
Bloody
basic
blue.
stuff. My mom's dead. That happened a long time ago. I don't have the sympathy of a random listener. Bloody blue. And like, I don't have any real resentment towards his relationship. I'm not trying to make it seem like I do, but they got together when we were adults, so she's not like a mother figure to me in any deep possible way, nor does she try to be. Our relationship is exactly what you would expect it to be, and that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, like I like Jackie fine. She's perfectly nice, perfectly pleasant. You're just like not super close to her, and that's
no, like she's perfectly nice to me, and like tries to be a presence in my life to the extent that my dad's a presence in my life, but she's not my mom, and she's never tried to be my mom, and that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And I've never wanted her to be my mom either, so it works out well.
Yeah.
But that said, they generally host Thanksgiving at their house, and look, how deep do we want to go on the explanations for why we don't like going?
We can just keep it to, it's sometimes kind of awkward, like in that there's some backstory and a bunch of stuff we don't need to get into.
Yeah, the short, I guess, version is like, look, we're mostly hanging out with older people whose political views don't align with ours, and that's hard for everyone. It's awkward. Most of the people there we don't know personally, because it's us and a bunch of their friends, and occasionally other family members who I know but don't speak with a lot. So it's just kind of a hard experience generally. So we don't tend to like going terribly much, but I do out of family obligation, just because that's the holiday that's easier. And if I give them Thanksgiving, it's easier to get out of Christmas, type of stuff. And I do love my father, but holidays are awkward. I'm sure most of you get that.
Yep.
Anyway, this year was a special year.
Yep.
Because both my dad and Jackie have had multiple hip replacement surgeries this year, which is fine. But unbeknownst to me, they had one like a month prior to this, and also decided, understandably, because of the hip replacement surgeries, that they wanted to move from their house to a condo that was nearby. Fine. But apparently they were moving from this condo literally 6 days ago, like last Monday before Thanksgiving.
Yep.
And I asked them about this, and I was like, we don't have to go. Like, I don't want to put any pressure on you, who are both ill and also trying to move, despite the fact that you both had hip replacements this year, to do this. And they're like, no, we're going to do it. And then on Monday, they said, no, actually, we're not going to do it. It's too much. And then on Tuesday, they said, yes, we're going to do it again. And it just got to be too much. Thankfully, Cleveland, where they live, is under lake effect snow, so we just used that as an excuse not to go.
Yes.
Which was good.
Yeah.
I do wish they had told us a little bit sooner, because we did debate going down to Indianapolis a little bit earlier, and that I think would have been the most preferred option. So
probably
we might just plan on that for next year, depending on if I have to take a bus full of students down or not.
Yeah.
So the short version of this is, I'm sure many people have situations like that or worse.
Yep.
And having a con or a place for them to go over Thanksgiving weekend, if you don't have family connections, or even if you have great family connections, but just for whatever reason can't get back to that family, is, I think, a really great thing.
It is. I 100% agree. And again, like, I do think bringing students to this con would actually be a really good experience for them, because it's got kind of just about the right level of, like, there's some fun after hours stuff that they could go to if they wanted to. It's got some good educational content. And a bunch of them are, like, I know some of your students, some of them are pretty goddamn nerdy.
Yeah. So I'll talk to some colleagues about that probably when I get back. I've got no promises for next year with academic permissions and stuff like that. It does take a long time to get this stuff set up, but maybe.
Maybe. It's a good idea. Whether we can pull it off in only a year is up in the air, but it is a good idea. So we'll see.
And I have gotten the itch to do a student trip for quite a while, so.
Yeah. So, should we talk a little bit about the hotel itself?
Yes. So do you want to go to shift chronological order?
Not quite yet, because we normally talk about, the hotel and the parking and that kind of stuff, and then do chronological.
Okay.
So, this is just held at the Marriott Hotel, just on the outskirts of Indianapolis. It's actually super convenient for us, relatively speaking, because it's basically just off, just off 70. And it's basically the closest place to us it can be while still being in Indianapolis. It's kind of great in that regard. With that said, it's still a 3.5 hour drive, but, could be worse. It could be on the other side of town. It's basically
all on 70, which isn't bad, except for the fact that the part of 70 that's in Indiana does not have road maintenance.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's fine.
But yeah, it's not a particularly large space relative to some convention centers, but it's perfectly functional. It's perfectly solid, and they use it well.
Mm-hmm.
They actually, to be fair, they do have a fair amount of space. They've got a main ballroom, multiple event rooms, multiple panel rooms, and also a kind of atrium space, as they put it.
Yeah.
Which has a lot of their partner organizations in, and then they've got their main vendors hall.
Yeah, it's obviously not something that could hold like a Gen Con numbers, but for a con of this size, it's more than adequate and allows them to do a lot of paneling.
Yeah, like relative to the number of attendees they have, this con has a lot of paneling,
which is great. We love that.
Yep.
Parking is also free, and it's relatively easy to access from the highway. And they do a good job, which was relevant this weekend, of salting the parking lot.
Yeah, they salted the bejesus out of it, which was a good thing on the Saturday, but we'll get to that. It's also very, very easy. So I think, with the exception of when we first got there, each day I was dropping you at the entrance and then parking.
Mm-hmm.
And it, between dropping you at the entrance and me walking in the door, there was, a minute and a half each time.
Yeah, and the main reason for that was it was cold, but more primarily, ball gowns and salt do not mix.
No.
I do not want them on my ball gowns. I understand why you have to salt the parking lot, but...
But at the same time, yeah, it's either I drop you off and quickly park up and then walk in, or I get out and half carry you into the building to keep your ball gowns off the ground. Because your ball gowns looked fantastic all weekend.
I got a lot of compliments. And sorry, we're behind a truck right now, and one truck is surpassing another truck. You guys know the joys, and also the truck has ice on it, so bear with us.
I'm going to slow down a little bit.
It's fair.
Let him pull ahead of us. There we go. Until I can get past him, I don't want to deal with that.
But it is a pretty good venue. It was under construction this year.
Yes, in all honesty, I think our biggest complaint about this year is just the hotel was undergoing some slight renovations this year, so parts of it were a lot colder than they should have been. There was some
and from what I can tell, they did not discount them for that, because we did talk to a couple of the con staff.
Yeah.
Which they should have, and I hope that they get a little bit more money back given some of the problems with the venue this year.
Yeah.
Which is not on the con, it's not their fault.
But again, and I'll say, most of the rooms were fine. It was just one particular room, which of course was the one I was paneling in, was freezing. Yeah. All weekend, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I think people were actively avoiding that room by midday Saturday just because it was so cold.
Yep.
I had to keep I was wearing long sleeves and I was cold.
Mm-hmm. And a coat.
Yeah.
My coat.
Yeah, well, I wasn't expecting it to be that cold.
Yep. So you stole my coat.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, we'll talk about that in a bit more detail when we get onto my panel. But but generally speaking, it's probably about the right space for what they use, is what I will say.
Yes, I like it a lot. They were talking, and we'll talk more about this, switching venues, which they might do this year. That's pretty normal for cons, and I do think there's probably other hotels in Indianapolis they could use.
Yep.
But that said, I think it's a good venue generally. I just hope they can continue good relations with it. So
yes. Again, it's mostly most of the problems with it were fairly minor. Just again, it was cold.
Yeah.
And it wasn't cold everywhere. There were plenty of rooms that were toasty and warm, and it was weird. We went into the vendors hall, and the corridor outside the vendors hall was really chilly. And then you stepped into the vendors hall, and you had to take the coat off again because it was actually toasty and warm and nice.
Yeah. It was also just, I think, a bit of bad luck with the weather this weekend. It wasn't bad, but this is definitely our first capital T weather winter weekend that we've had, I think, so far.
Yeah.
So I think it was the hotel's also first time really testing their heat. Also, fun fact, our heat went out this week before we left.
Yeah, that was fun.
It is back on now.
Yeah, joys of on Tuesday night, specifically the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, going, it's a little bit chilly in here. Yeah, I'll go check the thermostat. The thermostat reckons it's 62 and we've got it set to 70. I'm going to go check the furnace. Oh dear, this isn't working.
Yeah, we still know what was wrong with it. He just cleaned it and it's better. But thankfully, he got out there the day before Thanksgiving, which was right before the cold snap hit. So it was mildly uncomfortable for one night.
Yep.
Which is fine.
Yeah, and we've got our pet sitter keeping an eye on it.
That's fair. And yeah, it's mostly just important to us because obviously, in addition to us, we had animals and we're going away. And with the weather this cold, we can't leave them alone. If it was this cold, it's not safe for them. So.
But yeah. yeah, hopefully that's still working fine.
So you want to shift into chronological now?
I'm assuming so.
So we probably should preface this with we were quite tired on Friday. We didn't wind up going to my father's for Thanksgiving the day before, so we decided to do something fun, which was introduce our bunny and dog to each other. As some of you know who are listeners of the podcast, we got 2 bunnies back in September.
Yep.
They largely live on one floor of the house, and our dog largely lives on another. We've introduced them briefly through grades a few times, and we decided to start taking the bunnies upstairs to get them more used to the environment, which has mostly gone well, but there's been a couple of problems.
Yeah, so the major kink just being Emma's a slightly jealous puppy, and she gets a little clingy sometimes. And I think there was a point where we were trying to wrangle the bunnies back into their their transport crate so we could take them back down to where they actually live. And I think she got super jealous that we were playing with the bunnies and not with her.
Yeah.
Because she was super clingy the rest of that night, which included not letting us sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should just leave them up there for longer periods of time and see how that works.
Maybe. Again, we'll try some more stuff. We'll figure some stuff out. But yeah.
Because the major problem we're having is just getting them up and down the stairs, because bunnies are animals that you're actually not really supposed to pick up unless you absolutely have to. Is a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
Because they don't like it. And a lot of times they don't let you. So you're trying to communicate to them that they need to go back downstairs in a way that they like, which annoys them sometimes. So.
Again, they are prey animals, so they are quite skittish.
Yeah.
But they seem to be getting on with Emma fine as long as there's grate in the way. They'll hop over and kind of say hi to her and then hop away.
Yeah.
Then she'll whine when they hop away because she wants to sniff them. She wants to play with them. And yeah. But yeah, so the practical upside of this is that we did not get a lot of sleep on Thursday night.
No, and we had already had plans because this was, again, a complicated plan. Black Friday is look, it might not surprise any of our long-term listeners or literally anyone who's seen me in person to know that I am a shopper. I love to shop. It's my hobby. And I make money and I'm allowed to spend it. I put my recommended amount into retirement every month, and I don't need to justify it to you. Plus, the world's probably going to end anyway, so.
Probably.
So, Black Friday is a very big day for me. And I think I actually brought this up in the Actually panel, but there's a lot of question about whether Black Friday is the best holiday for deals. In some cases it is, in some cases it isn't, is the incredibly TLDR of that. But it's somebody who shops a lot. I monitor different companies, I know what their deals are, and I plan a lot. But one thing we did last year that was super, super fun was get the 20 or 10 Squishmallows for
$25.
Well, $20 last year, 25
$20
this year,
yeah.
because they gave you a tote bag and said that was worth the extra $5, which it's not.
It's not.
It was just an excuse for them to up the price without people complaining, I think.
Pretty much.
It's still a good deal, though, because these are full-size Squishmallows.
Yep. But, yeah, so we were contemplating how we wanted to do this. We did consider getting up at 4 a.m., driving to Columbus, going to, loading up the car, driving to Columbus.
Five Below opens at 7.
Yep.
Depending on where you are, you don't really need to get there at 7. You could probably walk in at 9 at most places and still get the deal.
Yeah.
But I'm competitive. I don't know if you knew that.
Just a mite. So
we thought about doing that, and then we decided that wasn't really worth it.
Yeah, that was dumb.
Yeah.
So instead, I got up at about 5:30, drove to Zanesville, and from 6 o'clock onwards was stood outside the Five Below there, waiting for it to open at 7.
Keep in mind it was freezing.
Yep.
You got major husband points.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, I stayed home with Emma, who did not sleep at all that night, and we had to trade off who was with her. And I was up from, I think, about the time you left, just with her hanging out.
Yep. You bought some stuff online as well during that time.
I did. I got the emo axolotl from Build-A-Bear.
Good job.
So the short version is we were exhausted.
Yep.
And we still wanted to go.
Yep.
We weren't grumpy, I wouldn't say. We were just tired. We've definitely been tired and grumpy. This time we were just tired.
Yep. Yeah, so got on the road, hit the highway, all that jazz. Again, 3.5 hours. Pretty straightforward drive for the most part. A bunch of road works, but that's pretty normal. And then, we got there. And the badge pickup process was Very quick, very easy. We just walked into the registration room. I told them we were paneling, and they confirmed what our names were, and they had like a little envelope ready for us, which had each of our badges in, and we had an envelope each, I will say, which had our badges plus a presenter ribbon, which is fun.
Fancy. Which you got to wear.
Yep.
And then the stand lanyards you could pick out from the back of the room, a couple different colors. They had pronoun badges, which are always appreciated.
Yep.
And this turned out to be, I think, very much a theme of the weekend, but the nice thing about this weekend is people pretty much talk to you constantly. Like, you cannot walk anywhere without somebody wanting to talk to you, which is awesome.
It's really nice. Like, again, it is a small but very welcoming convention, which I do very much appreciate. Yeah, so do you want to talk costumes?
Yeah. So on Friday I was wearing Starry Night, because that's actually fairly easy to get in the car, and I can just put the ball gown on once we got there, which I did.
Yep.
And I was just wearing pretty basic makeup. Sometimes your Vingo was Starry Night. With everything that was going on, I think you were just like, no.
Yeah, I did not have the mental energy to costume this weekend.
Plus, I needed you to handle anyway.
Yep. Which again, I did feel a little guilty about at one point.
Which was weird, but...
Yeah. Again, I for whatever reason, my anxiety's been kind of spiking this weekend. And that's not on the con, that's for other reasons that I'm very cognizant of.
Yeah. Which we talked to a few people about, but I don't know if you really... We probably shouldn't mention it.
I'm not going to go into detail.
It's not anything bad. Just trust us on this.
It's just stressful.
Yeah. It's paperwork, let's put it that way.
Yeah. But yeah. So yeah, again, registration process, clean, simple, easy, very nice. I'm assuming you're pulling up the schedule?
I am.
Yep. So we took a little bit of a turnaround while we kind of waited for the first panel we wanted to go to start. And I think we walked through the vendors hall at that point.
Yeah, which was already open.
Yep.
We got there at about like 1-ish and it had just opened. So we walked around. We didn't buy anything that day, but it is a nice vendors hall. We know some of the vendors since we've gone there 3 years, because a lot of them have done it multiple years, which I assume means they're making money, which is awesome.
Which is good.
And it was, I think, a mix of like a couple jewelry artists. Pretty much everyone in there is either an author or doing artisanal goods, which is awesome. There's not really any like people who are just selling crap off Temu or whatever.
No, like there's some people who are selling what I would consider like vintage toys and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Which is the closest you get in that vendors hall to anything like mass market. Which again, I do not have a problem with that. But yeah, like I'm pretty sure most of the people in there were selling their own creations in some capacity, which I really like. Like I like supporting like creative people. So yeah, we'll talk a bit more in detail about what we bought probably when we get to Sunday, because that's when we bought it.
So after that, and we were very tired at this point, I think we just kind of sat down in the main area to play games for a bit.
Yep.
Because there's a main atrium area where there's just some tables around, which I like.
Yep.
In addition, I don't know if you want to describe like what else the con has besides that at this point in terms of layout.
Yeah, we might as well. So as I mentioned, they have a number of panel rooms, and so there's communications, astrophysics, the lab. And again,
so yeah, there's a bunch of panel rooms across one wall on one side of the atrium.
Yep.
All of which are standard panel rooms. Towards the back of the atrium, there is main events, and their main events here is very interesting.
It's the bridge.
It's the bridge.
Specifically, it's a bridge set. It has a captain's chair on it,
Yep.
and provided there's nothing on at that particular time, as far as I'm aware, you are free to go in and just get up and take pictures in the captain's chair. I've got one of you from last year, the year before.
Yeah.
We saw multiple people taking pictures in the captain's chair throughout the weekend.
Yeah, it's also used as a set piece because sometimes they have plays or stuff that happens effectively in Star Trek, because there are some acting groups that play there.
Yep.
Generally. I will say it does make certain things a little bit awkward because you can't move it, so there's not a lot of stage room otherwise.
Yeah, it does take up a certain amount of room.
But it's fine for the size of the con.
And again, it's very, very fun.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the thing that, like, ultimately that's what matters. Like, everybody understands it's going to be there, everybody works with it, and it's just a very, very fun vibe.
Yep. And next to that, there's the con suite, which is very much, I think, old-style cons, where you, they have food and drink available for free, for the most part. Like, obviously, don't take more than your fair share, but just stuff is available all weekend for you to grab.
Yep.
Including hot drinks, which you kind of need.
Yeah. Again, it's nothing super fancy or anything, but it's there and it's useful for the people who want and or need it.
Yeah, and they had some pretty good food all weekend.
Yeah.
There's also, I think, somebody serving kind of more liquor-esque things at the back of it that I think you do have to pay for.
Yes.
We didn't really go over there because I can't drink because alcohol kills me faster than most people, and you generally prefer to drive. So
yes. Again, mostly it just comes down to like I know, like I can drink if I want to. It's mostly just a case of you can't, and I'm very much a social drinker, so I only like to drink if other people are.
yeah, and we've talked about this before, just with my disability and everything. With cons, if we're planning on drinking, we really do kind of need to plan it in advance. We can't like be spontaneous with it like a lot of people can.
Yep.
Which is not on the con.
No, that's an us limitation rather than anything else.
So next to that, or the con suite, is just registration. Across the hall from that is the vendors hall, which outside of which is an area that's under construction. Then if you go through the under construction area,
yep,
you get to the back area, which in addition to having bathrooms has the holodeck, which
yep.
has another big set piece that is a screen that you can play stuff on. So stuff that requires a big screen, I think they like to put in that room a lot, which I think is why you were put back there.
I believe so. There was also there like video gaming / board gaming space back there.
Yes.
I do not believe they had a board game library. I didn't see one.
Yeah, I thought they had one years before, because I remember in years before they had puzzles and stuff out. It didn't look like they had that this year, but it might just be with a con this size. Chances are that's just on like one person, and that one person probably just wasn't there this year.
Yeah. Which again, that happens. That's fine. But again,
although I maintain con puzzle table is great. Most cons should have a con puzzle table, just because everyone can always put in a couple pieces of a puzzle and move on with their day.
This is true. But yeah, so again, perfectly fine functional use of the space. There are more rooms back there. The con wasn't using them.
Yep.
That's fine.
Yeah.
As I said, I think they were using the correct amount of space for the number of people they had.
Yeah, although if one of those other rooms did have heating, I kind of wish they had just moved them back to there.
Yeah.
Not on the con. We know they complained about the fact that the holodeck effectively did not have heating all weekend multiple times, because we talked to them about it.
Yeah.
The hotel was just not great about it.
Yeah, they kept like coming out fiddling for 5 minutes and then leaving.
And it was not doing anything at all.
So yeah. Not great by the hotel on that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's pretty much the space. We sat down in the main atrium area. We could have also sat down in the con suite and just started playing games for a bit. And several different people walked up to our table and just started talking to us for a bit, which was awesome.
Including the con president.
Yes. And I don't know if we're saying their name.
We didn't ask permission.
Yeah, so we won't. I think that is technically lookupable information. Our policy is vague, but you know.
Yeah, again, if you can find it, go have fun.
Yeah.
But, no, she was fun.
Yeah, she complimented my outfit.
Yep.
And she was wearing a Star Trek outfit that she put on with eyelash glue, which I love. Not all of it, just the headpieces.
Yeah, would you like me to explain what the outfit was?
Yes.
Yeah, so her costume was based on the original design for Seven of Nine. Not the full Borg look, the initial, catsuit thing. The one that, they had to give up on after, 4 or 5 episodes because it was actively giving Jerry Ryan health problems. This was not quite as insane and severe as that one. This was a, bodysuit, and then, I believe the implants were 3D printed.
Yeah.
And, as you say, stuck on with, eyelash glue and wig glue. Which, hey, it was good look for her. It's very much sort of you need a lot of self-confidence to pull off that outfit.
Yep.
And I respect her for that.
Yeah. She did say that she tested it at home and it was see-through.
Yeah.
I'm glad she tested it at home first.
Yeah.
Because the other thing we found is that the con chair apparently has been going to this con since she was about 12 or 14 years old.
Yep.
And a lot of the people who are older than she is...
she's the con president. Or she's the president of the board not the con chair.
So yeah, StarBase Indy is a board organization. One of the things they do is this convention. I'm a bit unclear on the exact power structure there.
Yes.
But we did attend a board meeting, which we'll talk about.
We did, which we'll talk about. But yeah, so yeah, she's been going to this since she was, 13, 14.
And I did hear multiple people commenting that it was weird to now know her as an adult at this point.
Yeah.
Which is fair.
That's fair. There are people I've known since they were young kids. So, my fencing instructors' kids, I know are both adults now. And if I saw them, it would be weird.
Yeah.
That's just watching other people's kids grow up is always kind of a weird experience.
Yeah, but
Because you tend to see them in birth. You tend to see them intermittently rather than as they grow.
But I honestly do applaud this con for putting a young person effectively in charge of their organization for a bit. Like, that's something that I know a lot of older adults are unwilling to do, and I think it shows a lot of, like, growth and maturity or whatever to, like,
Put a
pass stuff on.
25-year-old in charge.
Yeah. Or it could just be, maybe I'm assuming too much positivity and no one else wanted to do it. That's also a very real possibility.
That's also a potential factor, yeah.
Yeah. But it's nice to see that growth within the Star Trek community.
Yeah.
And, like, the wanting of getting, like, people who are a bit younger into Star Trek.
Yeah. But yeah, so again, we had a nice, like, friendly, long chat with her. And then, was that the point at which we went to the Airbnb?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We mostly played games in the lobby and talked to people. And I will tell you, at this con, we did spend a lot more time talking to people than we did attending events, which is honestly kind of awesome. But it does mean there's going to be less stuff for us to review properly.
Yeah, because you can't really, like, review a conversation you had with a random person.
No, that's not something you can do, and I don't want to, like, that's also just, I feel weird judging people to that extent. That seems dumb.
Yeah. But yeah, so we, not long after we got there, we checked how far our Airbnb was, and it was about a 10-minute drive.
Yeah.
You very deliberately went with one that was on that side of Indianapolis.
And we've stayed in this Airbnb before for IFC.
Yeah, it is aggressively
okay. It was better last time, I think, because it's a duplex that's not intended to be a duplex, but is a duplex for purposes of they wanted to squeeze more money out of it, I guess.
Yep.
So there was a family staying on the opposite side from us who had a bunch of small children.
Yes, I am unclear. Like, I based on what was on the noise, I suspect, this is a complete guess, that there was some kind of sleepover going on.
Yeah, like, it could just be a bunch of people for Thanksgiving and a bunch of, like, typically when you have a big Thanksgiving, you just put all the kids together and have them run around and tire each other out.
Yep.
It kind of seemed like what was happening.
Yeah. Which that made 4 a.m. on Saturday fun.
Yeah, the kids did not sleep. They were both awake when I was, like, going to bed at midnight that night and also awake at 4 a.m. later, just kind of running around and screaming.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that, like, there's not even really a wall. Like, the door of this Airbnb was clearly not meant to be a door that's just blocked off by, like, a curtain.
Yep.
There was not a lot of privacy.
Yeah.
There was enough that, like, no one could see me naked or anything, but it was not, like, a terribly comfortable experience. But it was only 10 minutes away from the...
Yeah. Well, we're in the wonderful world of, like, do we want to pay more and, like, have a bit more, like, have fewer of the cons, but, like, maybe be further away? Like, this is always the thing when you're choosing an Airbnb for a convention. Like, you've got to balance all of those things.
And every single time we're like, we're adults, we can, like, afford slightly nicer things now. Let's go up a couple tiers and get one that covers all our needs. And then every single time we're like, oh, this one's cheap. Let's just go with this one. And I know it's going to happen again.
Yeah, probably.
And as a reminder, in case this is your first time listening, we can't stay in con hotels just because of my disability most of the time. Like, the only way that kind of sort of works is if we're paying for 2 separate hotel rooms, which is kind of not worth it for 2 people. And even then, it's still not really that comfortable for me, unfortunately, because I do need a kitchen to meal prep and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, which does, like, it definitely makes things a bit harder, but...
There are trade-offs. It is, for the most part, cheaper most of the time.
Frequently. Like, not always. Like, I do, based on what we heard today, I don't think the rooms in this hotel were terribly expensive, especially if you're going through the room block. But, again, it mostly just comes down to you have specific needs and, making sure they're met is kind of the balancing act we have to do.
Yeah. And yeah, we're definitely on the shitty part of the road now.
Yeah. Time. We're also passing the signs for the Uranus Fudge Factory.
So yeah, we got into the Airbnb and we effectively just kind of took a nap because we needed one.
Yep.
I felt better after that.
But yeah, so unloaded, put all the stuff away, all of that jazz.
We briefly thought about trying to get dinner, then I felt too sick to get dinner, so...
Yep, so we kind of drove to the restaurant we liked and then drove back.
And then you went to go to McDonald's.
Yeah, which... The difference in quality between Seasons and McDonald's is kind of fascinating.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty bad.
Yep.
And you got more food than you needed.
Yep.
And then we got back for opening ceremonies, which were at 7.
Yes.
So we did see kind of the tail end of the, let me pull up the name. Vamp.
Vamping. So yeah, so there was a performer on stage when we got there. We kind of saw like about the last 10 minutes of the show.
Yeah, the Moxie and Mangus Variety Hour.
Yeah. And they were good. They were funny.
Yeah.
They were doing
Star Trek parody songs.
Star Trek parody songs and various other bits and bobs. Like, again, it was a variety show.
Like, we didn't start the fire, but about Star Trek.
Yep.
Calling out Star Trek as always being woke, which it always has been.
Star Trek has indeed always been the wokest show. If you complain about new Trek being woke, congratulations, you weren't paying attention to old Trek.
Yep.
Seriously, I once heard somebody argue that old Trek, like, wasn't woke because it was much more subtle about its social message, to which my response is, have you ever seen Let This Be Your Last Battlefield? It's beating you over the head with a metaphor so hard that you'll probably need reconstructive surgery.
Is that the, like, face swap one?
Yeah, that's the face one.
We saw somebody cosplaying as a character from that day, which was awesome.
Yeah. I think that was Saturday when we saw them.
No, it was definitely Friday. I remember commenting on that night because this was straight after opening ceremonies. I was commenting on it too.
Yeah, that's bad. But yeah, one of the things I actually did with them was I quickly double-checked, by looking up a quick still from the episode, whether they were cosplaying as the persecuted minority or the oppressive one, and they were cosplaying as the persecuted minority.
And I honestly wouldn't blame them if they weren't, just because it's very confusing about which side of your face is which side of your face if you're painting your own face.
Yep. But yeah, so again, that was fun. That was really, cute to see. Because again, it's a very wholesome thing.
Yep.
So yeah, so we got the last 10 minutes of the show. Seemed fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then they did opening ceremonies, and opening ceremonies was enjoyably chaotic.
Yeah, we have talked about this. Like, opening ceremonies is kind of a weird event because your options for opening ceremonies are either typically having it when the con starts at like noon on Friday, which has the disadvantage of no one being there.
Yep.
Or starting it at like 7 like they did on Friday, which has the disadvantage of it already feels like the con's been going for a bit by the time it starts.
Yeah.
But people attended this, and this was very funny. They had like a little skit planned, which was very cute.
Yep. Cute little skit. They introduced a whole bunch of people.
Mm-hmm. There was a proposal.
There was a proposal, which is hilarious because there was also a wedding later in the weekend, which again we'll talk about.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, this was fun. It was goofy. It was silly. They got all their volunteers up so they could get a picture with them.
Mm-hmm.
Super sweet. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's pretty much just what you would expect from an opening ceremonies, announcing names of people and stuff that was going on that weekend. So pretty basic. Introducing
their celebrity guest. All of that jazz.
So yeah, that lasted I think about 30, 45 minutes-ish.
Somewhere in that ballpark. Wasn't super long.
Yeah, I think they started a little bit late, but this was just because it involved a lot of people, and they had to get all those people into one place. If you ever wrangled a bunch of nerds, it's not an easy thing to do.
It is not. They get distracted easily. Ooh, shiny thing. So yeah. But no, again, fun, cute.
Yep.
Not too much else to say about it. What did we do after that?
We mostly again hung out and played games for a bit. We played Azul this time.
Yeah, we did. We played Mini Azul.
A couple people came up and talked to us.
Yep.
And we were mostly sticking around for the cosplay tea party, which we were invited to earlier by the con chair. Or not the con chair, the board member.
Board president.
Board president.
Yeah, so the cosplay tea party was basically a small tea party whereby, I'm not going to say it was by invitation only, it was basically a case of they had a limited amount of tea and a limited number of sandwiches and cheesecake.
Which were free.
No complaints on that front.
They weren't fancy or anything, but they were free.
So they basically said if you wanted to go to it, you had to register for it, which could be done online, or you could go to the front desk and do it. We did it online. With hindsight, we should have done it at the desk.
In fairness, the board president did tell us to go to the desk.
Yeah.
And we just was like, oh, you can do it online. We'll just do it that way. That way we don't have to talk to people.
Yep. Because we're socially awkward. Yay!
So is everyone else. It's fine.
Yeah. But no, there wasn't actually a problem. It was mostly just a case of...
we didn't have an assigned table like everyone else did, so we would just kind of put it at a table randomly, which was fine.
Yeah.
And the board president put us at their table, which, I think I mostly wanted to talk to us more. And then we talked about sex, so...
Of course we did.
Which is unsurprising. Well, honestly, getting to know them over the weekend, that is the least surprising thing.
Yeah. Again, Star Trek nerds.
I
We're
felt
all,
bad for the people who knew this person since they were 12.
again, nerds are kinky.
Yeah.
Like, I literally saw a thing, that popped up on my feed. There was a Tumblr post where somebody was like, yeah, so it turns out the Venn diagram of people who are into kink and people who are into Dungeons and Dragons is a circle.
No one's surprised about that.
Nope.
So yeah, the tea party was mostly just an excuse to hang out and talk to people, but it was a good like social event to do that, basically.
Yeah.
And then little sandwiches and cheesecake and tea.
Yep.
All of which you could get for free again.
Yep. I did drink some tea.
Mm.
Still don't like tea, but like it's fine.
And this is one thing I really do like about this con is like at every other con, events like this do have just surcharges associated with them, and here it doesn't, and that's just really nice. Like it makes it more accessible and the barrier for entry easier for people. I'm like, I do get that sandwiches and tea cost a little bit, but like I would rather have them do it like they did, where they bought like relatively cheap versions of this thing and made it accessible to everyone, than having them do over the top expensive versions of this thing and not.
Yes, I'd charge you extra for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. Because again, like this was just a nice little event. Like it was nice talking to people. It was nice just discussing weird nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you beginning your ongoing scheme of just embarrassing me over the weekend.
I mean, other people discovered that they could also embarrass you over this weekend, which I think was even better. I didn't even have to do anything by Sunday. And Sunday, other people were just embarrassing you for me. It was kind of great.
You were having fun with that.
Yeah.
It's fine. So, yeah. So that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I believe we headed back to the Airbnb to actually sleep.
Yeah, we briefly checked in on karaoke in the holodeck, and that was when we first noticed the room was freezing.
Yeah, we noticed it was a little chilly.
It got progressively worse.
It got progressively worse, largely because it got progressively colder over the weekend, like just generally. But yeah, we briefly contemplated doing some karaoke, but we were just getting exhausted.
Yeah.
And I like karaoke a lot more than you do.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would be interested to see Star Trek karaoke just because it would be a lot more nerdy songs and stuff like that, as opposed to like Wonderwall.
Very true. And I do have some weird nerdy songs I could have thrown at them, but I'm also again, we didn't stay around long enough for me to know like what the etiquette on that one was. Whether it was, there are a bunch of different ways of doing karaoke at a con. Some will have like a pre-approved available song list. Some of them will just be like, "Yep, ask for it. We've got an internet connection on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
We can find it."
The con does have free Wi-Fi. I don't know if you mentioned that.
I did not. Yeah, the hotel has free Wi-Fi. It's perfectly fine. Like I
as a panelist, I do prefer it though, just because if you have free Wi-Fi for your panel, there's a lot more you can do with your panel.
Yes,
I didn't wind up needing it for mine. I think you ended up needing it for yours, but it does make certain things easier.
Yes, yeah. If we needed it, it would have been available, which is always nice. So yeah. So yeah, at that point, headed back to the Airbnb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there were some room parties going on, including a Klingon room party.
Yep. I think we technically got invited to the Klingon room party. My question is if they had blood wine.
Yeah.
Which, for any of you who are not familiar enough with Star Trek, Klingon blood wine, every time you see them drinking it, they're drinking it like it's beer. Canonically, it's slightly stronger than whiskey.
Mm-hmm. But they're
in terms
Klingons.
of its alcohol content. So yeah, you've got to be a little careful with your blood wine.
So I wish this dude would just get over to the other lane. He's driving me crazy.
Yeah, tell me about it. But you know, again. So yeah. So yeah, went to the Airbnb, got as much sleep as we were able.
Yep.
I think you got more sleep than I did, just because again I got woken up at 4 a.m. by loud children.
Yeah, the back room where I was sleeping was a little bit quieter.
Yeah.
If you're a frequent podcast listener, we don't sleep together. This is also a disabled thing.
Yeah.
We love each other, obviously. We obviously hang out together a lot, so I'm not really concerned about our marriage.
Yeah, no, our marriage is fine. It's just, again, us physically sleeping in the same bed is not something that really works. And that's something we've known that since before we were married.
Yeah.
We knew that when I first came over here and moved in, effectively.
Yeah, I will also admit I've just never really been the type of person to want I don't mind napping with somebody occasionally, but you get better sleep if you're sleeping by yourself. Why wouldn't you want that?
Again, some people are here's the thing, my parents. So one of my favorite dumb stories about my parents is at one point, 5 years ago now, their house was getting renovated. I was still living with them at that point because British economy, yay. And we all had to move out because the renovations were pretty significant. So they found a place. We moved all our stuff there. And the bed in the master bedroom there was bigger than their one at home. It was making them miserable because they realized they were sleeping further apart, and it sucked. Because again, these are two people who've been sleeping in the same bed as each other for like 40 years, 40 plus years. So yeah, that was kind of adorable. So my parents actively do not sleep as well if they're not together, but
they've been married for 40 years. So.
Yeah. Again, you and I have an arrangement that works for us, and that's kind of what matters. Like, do not think just because you don't sleep in the same bed that your relationship is not as valid as somebody who does.
Yep. As long as you're both happy with it, it's fine.
Yep.
So I was doing my monarch dress that particular day,
yep.
Which I know was going to be a hit here, which it definitely was.
Oh yeah, it was a hit. There was a slight issue first thing in the morning, which is my fault.
I think it was both our faults. Mostly, like, I had a spare pair of shoes I was supposed to wear on it that were a little bit lower to the ground because I like this dress to be more ground huggy than it is. And I accidentally, like, got two different pairs of shoes as we were packing. So one shoe that was one from a set, and other that was one from another set. So
and you kind of handed them to me, and I didn't notice. I just put them in the car.
Yep. Also, the makeup for that is fairly elaborate, so it was taking me a while to put it on.
Yep.
And then we also forgot my medication at home, or like back at the Airbnb, and then we couldn't figure out like which house was the Airbnb.
Yeah,
it's kind of comedic in retrospect.
It is, but again, it meant it was a slightly more stressful start to that morning than we'd intended.
Yeah, again, once we got there, I think we settled in pretty quick.
We did.
And we went to breakfast with the board, which is less an event and more just like having coffee and croissants in the con suite.
Yep.
And more talking to people.
Yeah.
But we met the people who were getting married that day.
We did. So yeah, one of the big events this weekend is that there was a couple who met at this con 2 years ago who were getting married. And the now husband was commenting to us that, like, yeah, ever since he was a kid and he saw Star Trek Nemesis and saw the white dress uniforms, he was like, I want to get married in that one day. And so he did.
Yep.
I respect that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that was awesome. And they were both just so excited about it, which was great. And I do love that a con this size lets you do something like that, where they're just like, yeah, take this elaborate bridge set that we have and get married on it.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was a midday? No. Later than midday?
That was at 4.
4.
So we'll get to the actual wedding, which we did attend, obviously. But it was so sweet. And I was excited to see a wedding at a con because it's not normal. I was also a little bit worried because I dress elaborately, but no one cared. So it was fine. Yeah. I was not wearing white.
Again, standard rule of, like, I'm sure we've mentioned this before, because, like, last year we went to a friend of yours' wedding, and I maintain you did a fantastic job because you hit all the key points of dressing for a wedding, which is be on theme, look good, don't overshadow the bride.
Yep.
And you hit all 3 of those really perfectly last year. And you were a little worried about this particular event, because, again, you were in a
well, I'm just not used to the decorum of obviously I know the decorum for a wedding, but I don't know the decorum for a wedding at a con. In a con, there are going to be other people in costume who aren't associated with the wedding.
Yeah.
But I could tell the bride and groom were like incredibly chill and did not care.
Yeah.
So
great.
Which is what I would expect of anyone who's getting married at a con. Like, obviously you can't ask no one else to dress in costume, and they definitely were not asking that. They were very chill, and they thanked us for showing up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, like the. To that point, groom, because that was before the ceremony, like he saw us kind of sitting over in the corner.
Keep in mind, we just met that morning.
Yeah, and he thanked us for coming, and that was really sweet. That meant a lot. So yeah, that was breakfast. Yeah, breakfast with the board,
which in theory went to 9 to 10. We stayed there till about 11, just because random people were coming in and talking.
Were we there that late? I think
it was like
10. It was a little after 10, but I think it was just 10.
Yeah, we might have gone back and played some games, because I know the next thing we did was Improv 101 or something like that after that. Or we might have toured the vendors hall again,
I think
probably.
We toured the vendors hall again.
By the way, the vendors hall did have a live chicken, which was cool.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
Fancy looking chicken, too.
Yeah.
Named Layla.
It was one of those weird afro chickens.
Yep. Or Leia, I think, technically.
Leia? Yeah.
Leia. It's L-A-Y-A.
Yeah.
I know, because there's books about them.
Yep.
But they were a bird enthusiast, and we are also bird enthusiasts. So
Yeah. Which was cute. But yeah.
Yeah.
So again, so the vendors hall again, played a couple more board games while we waited for stuff.
at some point, I think both today and yesterday, there were several dogs at this con because there's not really a pet policy, which is awesome.
Yep.
And one of the dogs, which was a very fancy looking poodle, I think identified with me.
Yep. Oh, you are all so fancy. Hi.
Pretty much every single day it came up to sniff me.
Yep.
And it wasn't doing that with everyone.
It was very cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, it was a very fancy dog.
Yep.
You notice now that we're out of Indiana, the roads have suddenly become not terrible.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. So then we briefly... Oh, I know what we did at the 10 o'clock mark. We edited our panels.
Oh, yeah, we did. Yeah, so you were paneling at 12, I was paneling at 5.
Yes. And we had like the main things done. We could have run at that time period, but we wanted to just because I'm talking about academic stuff, I wanted to briefly go over my main arguments again, just make sure I had stuff down.
Yeah, you kind of went through your slides, made sure they were good, make sure they were ready, all of that jazz.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went through my quiz and tweaked a couple of things and did some stuff.
Yeah, which free Wi-Fi greatly helped with that.
Yep.
And then most times when we were just sitting down, people came up and said hi. So
yeah.
After that, we went to Improv 101.
Yep. So this was being run by 2/3 of one of their musical guests.
Yes.
Which was, what was it, Red from something or other?
Yes. I can pull it up if you'd like.
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest, this wasn't what we were anticipating.
Sometimes this happens where you go into a panel expecting one thing. So yeah, Red Rum Pirate Band, who are a very good band. We heard them throughout the weekend.
Yeah. We didn't go to any of their specific events, but just sitting in the atrium, you could hear the music drifting out from main events.
Yes.
Fine.
And we thought this was going to be improv games, which we love.
Yes. This was more of a how to act in character, because this group also has been heavily involved in a Ren Fair.
Yeah.
So this was more that kind of short burn improv you do if you're a character actor or at a Ren Fair, rather than more
improv games, which we were a little bit more expecting. It's how to interact with people as though you are a character and they're not a character.
Yes.
So the type of character acting you would see at Disney or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's just part of the problem was I was the only one in the room in cosplay, and I was not prepared to do that. One, I was trying to psych myself up because I was about to give a performance effectively in the next hour mark, and I just did not have the energy to do this.
Yep.
And the other, I just wasn't prepared to, my monarch butterfly dress is very, fun, and I will say, when I'm interacting with kids, I'm generally playing a character because kids think it's real.
Yep.
But when I'm interacting with adults, sometimes I'm playing a character and sometimes I'm not. And it's also something that I have a really complex, because they were talking about character interacting at cons. I have really complex emotions about that generally, or thoughts. Just because I do actually want to see more character play with people in cosplay generally. But on the other hand, I also don't want that to be a barrier for entry for people, because one of the things that stopped me from cosplaying until when we started going to cons again is I legitimately believed when we started going to cons that if I was in a fancy outfit, I had to be in character the entire time.
Yes.
Which is not remotely the case.
It's not, but it's an understandable mistake for you to have made.
Yeah. And I don't want to put that same pressure on somebody. I think character acting in cosplay is great, but you should be allowed to do or not do it.
Yeah, I've seen great clips of people who are dressed as characters from the same franchise bumping into each other and just playing with it and having fun. I've seen clips of one guy who was randomly dressed as a guardsman from 40K bumping into a guy who was dressed as a commissar from 40K, and it was very clear these two people didn't know each other, but they had a brief in-character interaction of the commissar threatening the guardsman for desertion, and it was hilarious.
Yeah.
And it's clear they both had fun with it, but the fact you're not comfortable doing that shouldn't be a barrier to stop you.
Yeah, and also if you are cosplaying, I think you should do it at an ability level in a way you feel comfortable. I don't want to this was one comment one person made one time, so I don't want to commit them to this particular view, nor does it make them a bad person, but one person in that room made the comment that if you couldn't do an accent of a character, you shouldn't play that character, and I vehemently disagree with that.
Yep, that's the thing we disagree with.
Yeah. Because I think anyone should be able to play any character they want. Obviously, don't change your skin tone to another real term skin tone. That's, I think, one rule in cosplay we can all agree on.
Yeah, just, again, if you want to,
if you're playing a character that's not your ethnicity, just play the version of it that is your ethnicity.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like if you are somebody of African descent who wants to be Superman, great, fantastic, have fun with it.
Yes.
Same goes in the other direction. It's mostly just a case of don't mess around with your skin color. It's like, should we live in a world where you can do that? I don't know. But we definitely don't live in a world where
and
that's
there's
acceptable.
a history of when you change your skin color, you're making fun of that person's race, and that's just not okay.
Yeah.
So just don't do it.
Just don't do it.
But outside of that, like, if you can't do an accent for a character, like if a character is Scottish and you're not Scottish and want to play a Scottish character but can't do a Scottish accent, absolutely do it.
Yeah.
It's not that big a deal.
Yeah, like if Montgomery Scott is your favorite Star Trek character because like he inspired you to be an engineer, fantastic.
Yeah.
It does not matter if you can't do do the accent. Wear the uniform. Be proud.
Yep.
So yeah. It's things like that. And again, it's mostly just, here's the thing. I suspect if you are in an environment where you're getting paid to do that, like a Ren Fair, there is an argument for, like, if you can't do the West Country pirate voice, probably don't, don't necessarily be a pirate at a Ren Fair being paid for it.
Yes, but
that I can understand.
if you're just a cosplayer at a con, you're not being paid for those interactions, so you should do it to the extent that you feel comfortable. And I absolutely do want there to be more of those fun and organic moments at cons, and I want to encourage that, but at the same time, the way to get people to do that is first get them into cosplay and then let them establish characters or something like that. But it's also like, and I will be realistic about this, even as somebody who wants there to be a lot more cosplay at cons, I don't really want to be a Monarch Regency Royal like the entire time I'm there in costume. We were there for I think we were there for like 15 hours that day. I don't want to be in that character constantly.
Yeah, it's
like I want to be able to go to the bathroom and stuff.
Yep.
So.
But yeah.
So yeah, this was just one of those, I think, mismatch between what we were expecting and what was there, which happens sometimes.
It happens. Again, like it's mostly just a case of I would tweak the name of that panel.
Yeah.
It's fine. Like,
And we didn't stay for the whole thing, mostly because we had to run over and get ready for my panel.
Yes. Yeah, like we knew we were only going to do the first half of it at most. Just because, again, we had to get ready for your panel. Because that was theoretically running, I think, 11 to 1.
Yep.
And we knew that your panel was at 12.
Yeah.
So we knew we were at most staying for half of it. We ended up dipping after about half an hour just because it wasn't what we wanted at that moment. And that's not anybody's fault.
Yeah. Also, the room was really cold because this was on the holodeck.
That was on the holodeck, and yeah, that was the first indication we had that room might be a bit problematic that day.
Yep. So then we went over to communications for my bioethics and Star Trek panel.
Yep.
The previous group, which I think was, let me look it up, Inspiring Action Through Music, was still finishing up. So this was one of their podcast episodes. So one of the things they were doing throughout the weekend was getting basically a group of experts, like kind of panelists, to talk about a topic. Where the panel presenter would be the kind of monitor and ask them questions, and they would talk about it and have a podcast about it, and you could also listen to it live, which is very cool.
And yeah, if you're interested, I believe that podcast is available on the StarBase Indy website, and depending on how long it takes them to like edit all of them and various other things, I believe those will be going up over the next weeks and months.
So one extremely, I think, and this is one emphasize a very minor criticism, is I do wish there was a little bit more breaks in between panels, because typically you had stuff running right up to the next time slot.
Yes.
And then the next person had to set up, so there was like basically no time to get people in and out of rooms, or for like in our case we'd had a PowerPoint to set up. So even just having a 5-minute cutoff break, I think, would help a little bit with that.
Yeah, like relatively minor. Like it didn't cause any major problems throughout the weekend. But yeah, even if you just say, ideally, things should be wrapping up at about 5 minutes to the hour.
Yeah, and again, I went my full hour slot too, so I'm not immune to this criticism either.
Yeah.
But I was also starting about 5 minutes late because the previous panel didn't, by the time they left and I got set up, it was about 12:05 as opposed to 12.
Yeah, which again, not a major criticism. It's mostly a case of every con handles that a little bit differently, and I think there are pros and cons to every...
Pros and cons.
Pros and cons. Like with some conventions we go to, they'll put like a full-on half-hour break between panels, and I don't think that's necessary. Whereas others will, basically say like, yeah, you've got a 1 hour time block, but realistically cap it at about 50-ish minutes in order to give the next guy time to set up. And again, very, very like minor tweaks, I think, and that's mostly. It's not even that you have to do that; it's just sometimes it's useful.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, setup process was pretty straightforward. Plug the laptop into the HDMI cable, turn the projector on, all that jazz. And again, like, the one thing I do really want to credit this con with was, God, was their AV work good this weekend?
Yeah, their AV work was fantastic. We sounded good.
Oh yeah. Like again, we frequently at an event like this, like you've got to like hold the microphone really close to you, and if you turn away, like the audience stops being able to hear you. Like it did not matter where behind that desk we were sat; those mics were picking us up.
Yeah, it was great. You didn't really have to lean forward all too terribly much.
Yep.
You could pick up the microphone, and it was great. I think for the podcasting episodes, they're going to get fantastic acoustics for that.
Yeah.
Way better than ours.
Oh yeah. And again, that's mostly down to the work of the AV team. So dang good job, guys.
Yeah. I also had the projection screen just because I was one of the few people I think in this room who actually had it. PowerPoint was a little bit small, but
A little bit, but again,
generally when I plan lectures, because I've worked with students before, the PowerPoints are mostly just kind of notes for myself.
Yep.
You don't really need them to follow along.
Yeah.
They help with philosophy just because there's a lot of definitional terms.
Yeah.
And this was, I gave this same talk last year. It was placed a little bit later in the day, and I think there were about like 10-ish people last year. This year,
somewhere between 7 and 10
Yeah.
last year.
I think this year there was close to 20 to 30.
20 to 30?
Yeah.
That room was probably a good 2/3 full by the end.
Which was very cool.
Yep.
And there were some people who stayed from the previous one. There were some that were kind of sneaking in the room ahead of time like we did. A couple of people who kind of waited till that panel cleared before getting in, and a couple who showed up a little bit late because they were probably from other stuff, which absolutely fine.
Yep.
No one left though, which I was really proud of.
Yeah. Like I was pleasantly surprised, like purely because again, it's a relatively serious topic.
It is.
And like it's not for everybody, and that's absolutely fine. And there's also just the factor of like there are a lot of people who will like go into a panel room at least in part because they need a place to sit down for the next 20 minutes before another thing that they're interested in starts. That's fine.
Most other cons, I will admit, like I've given academic talks at other types of cons, and typically you do get some people leaving just because it's a complex topic. Not everyone has the headspace to do it, and it's an anime con, like not everyone wants to learn there. But here, I think just because they're so academic focused, people are really into like learning at cons, which is awesome.
It really is great.
People seem to be having a lot of fun. Like a lot of people were paying attention. I had a blast doing this.
Yeah,
a lot of people some people who showed up last year came back this year, which was also awesome.
Yep.
And I think somebody, or the person who we wound up talking to after this,
Yep.
Like I noticed them in the audience. I think I can just say their name because they did give us permission.
Mm-hmm.
So, Lynn's was there, and I recognize them mostly because their lipstick is awesome. I'm like, I know them from somewhere. And they do use Zer pronouns. I'm going to try my best with that because I did ask them about it, but it is a little bit difficult because those are pronouns I'm not used to using. But we still respect them.
Exactly.
But I was also, I legitimately think that might have just come just because they knew I was hosting it, which is really awesome.
That really is. But yeah, so basics of this panel are we picked 3 episodes of Star Trek. So last year you focused on TNG, just on the grounds that TNG was the one you'd seen the most of, and it's kind of the one that more people know. This year I basically suggested that we pivot and talk about DS9.
Yep.
If we do it again next year, we're going to do Voyager and so on and so forth.
Yep.
We've run out of series and we have to start over. But so we picked 3 specific episodes of DS9 and just kind of talk about the medical issues that they raise.
Yep.
Only the philosophy behind that.
I like how you're explaining my presentation.
Oh, please, go on.
I'm just giving you shit.
I know.
So yeah.
Specifically, if you're interested, the episodes were Melora, which is the one with the alien from the low-gravity environment. So it's not a very subtle allegory for wheelchair use. Hippocratic Oath, which is Julian trying to help a bunch of Jem Hadar who are trying to get off Catcher White, and Dr. Bashir, I assume.
Yeah. And I will fully admit this year I packed way too much information in, but it's fine.
Yeah, you were rushing through it a little bit at a couple of points.
I knew I was going to be.
Yeah.
Like, I 100% knew that, but it's just one of those things where it's like, because at a con you don't know how much audience you're going to have, what their participation is and stuff like that. I would rather just have too much stuff to talk about as opposed to too little.
Yep.
So, but I did, like, people seemed very interested and engaged. They had some excellent thoughts to bring up.
Yep.
You did a great job. Our banter was great. Our jokes got laughs.
Yep.
Like, I had a lot of fun.
Yep. So yeah, again, I think it went well.
Yeah, and in terms of audiences, I will say StarBase Indy is one of my favorite audiences to give an academic presentation to.
Oh, it really is. Like, you actually get like intelligent questions from the audience, and just not that you don't occasionally get those at other cons. It's just, I don't know. It feels like there's more intellectual curiosity at this con. It's kind of the same thing. It's the same feeling I used to have at Marcon, RIP Marcon, that I don't tend to get at a lot of other conventions. And I don't know if that's just like sci-fi fans in particular, or like the slightly older demographic, or what. But there's something about this con that just like, I don't know, fires off the old academic curiosity. Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Like,
Yeah,
I had an absolute ball with it. So,
yep. You got anything else to add?
not really.
That's fair. If you're interested in listening to that, it was recorded as part of their podcast series. So that panel will, at some point in the future, when they've got time to edit it and all that jazz, be going up as part of the StarBase Indy podcast, I believe.
Nice. Yeah, I'm already thinking about next year for this one. So.
Yep, I'm thinking about some Voyager episodes I can show you. So yeah.
So after that, like, typically I will admit after I'm on a stage for a while, either for like any type of performance, whether it's like being drafted into a wrestling league, which has happened, or improv, or this, like, I need about 30 minutes to walk and reset my brain just because the adrenaline spikes, particularly when it goes well.
Yeah. We did contemplate staying for the panel after ours. It sounded interesting, but you needed that reset after your panel.
Which wound up being much longer than we anticipated.
Yes.
Not for any bad reasons.
No, this was purely just a case of we happened to bump into somebody we knew from another con.
Well, first, like, somebody took a picture with me, like, not because I was in an outfit, I think, but mostly because they were impressed by my panel, which was awesome.
Cool.
You remember that person?
I think so.
Yeah. They were very cute. And then we wound up sitting down, and we were talking to somebody we saw a little bit earlier in the day, who was at WeebCon.
Yes.
Mostly because we were looking out the window and being concerned about the snow, which had started to fall at that point during the day.
Yep. And yeah, we just ended up chatting for like 2 hours to them and to Lynn's.
Yeah. It just kind of showed up. I think some other people were also around, and we just hung out there and talked about random stuff for 2 hours, which is, I love moments like that at cons. Like, I really just do.
So do I. It's how I discovered that apparently Indiana spends more, or like, was somewhere along the way rated like the #1 state for road maintenance, which is the most nonsense thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Like, I don't doubt that it happened, but it probably just means they spend all of their money on like one incredibly well-maintained road somewhere, and that's the one they keep showing the judges.
Yeah. Who judges road maintenance?
I don't know. Somebody has to.
How does that even work?
I don't know.
And it's just kind of like, this is a type of con where you can absolutely do that.
Yeah.
It was a blast to do this.
Yeah, if you're just looking for a con to make friends at, this is a good one.
Yeah. And I get that making con friends is hard. It does kind of have to happen organically. But it's really awesome when it does happen.
Yeah, so not too much to say about that. We had a nice long conversation.
Yeah, and we can't review a conversation, but it lasted for 2 hours, which, talking to people who you effectively were just meeting for 2 hours is obviously a sign of great conversation.
Yeah. So yeah, what did we do at that point?
Also, somebody yelled at us to get drinks at some point.
Yeah.
But after that, we did Education of the Future.
Yes, which was an interesting little panel. So this, I think this was this the first panel we did that was in the like podcasty format?
Yeah, we caught the end of the previous panel that was in the podcasty format. This one was also in a podcasty format, where it was effectively the MC asking questions to people who worked in education in various ways, which we both do, so it was of interest to us.
Yep.
And I do want to say something about sci-fi cons in general, particularly cons with other PhDs. PhDs disagree with each other all the time. It doesn't mean we don't respect each other, and I knew walking into this panel and a couple other panels that I was going to disagree with some people.
Yep.
But, like, in academia, disagreement is good. It doesn't mean people are bad people.
Like, yeah, disagreement and like testing hypotheses and all that stuff is how you improve.
Yeah.
So.
And it's important to have disagreements so you can have those difficult conversations that you need to have. Academia is not about agreeing. It's about testing stuff.
Yeah.
But we both knew this, I think, about this con generally, and it is something that we do, I think, compared to a lot of people on this con, we do have different opinions about AI, particularly AI in education, that was kind of expressed on this panel.
Yeah.
Which isn't bad. This panel made me think through a lot of my thoughts about AI, which I think is what it was designed to do.
Yeah. Like, again, it's a con that encourages intellectual curiosity. It really is, in a way that I don't see that much.
Yeah. And this is one of the things that I think this con does emphasize. This disagreement is not bad, and it doesn't mean that the people who are disagreeing is bad people. And it doesn't even mean, in some cases, that they're not both correct in some ways.
Yeah. Like, we are in the wonderful world of, like, if one of you believes one thing and one of you believes another, it is entirely possible that there is some middle ground to be found there.
Yeah, which I think there is.
Yeah.
I will say, this was a lot about education, so a very main topic, obviously, because education and AI is just the topic you're going to talk about with any conversation in education at the moment.
Yep.
Was how to integrate education with AI. And they did give some suggestions, and a lot of them I will admit, I'm like, yeah, I've tried all of these, none of them work.
Yep.
They just don't for me. Maybe they work for your students, but they don't work for mine.
Yeah. And again, some of it comes down to, like, there are some classes where I think their methods would work, and some subjects, whereas philosophy in particular is a subject that's so focused around original thought and teaching you to think, that having a machine do all the thinking for you kind of does take away most of the point. Whereas there are some classes where, like, you know, AI that can, like, synthesize information and speed up how quick you can do it is actually kind of useful.
Well, one piece that I heard talk about it in relation to my discipline that I do think is important is, like, pretty classic essay that you just assign is basically, like, Socrates was an old philosopher back in BC times, if you're not familiar, who chose to die as a form of protest. I don't want to get into details, but a very, like, common essay that we have students write is whether or not he was right to choose this or not. And the point of that isn't their answers, and it's not as though they're going to say anything original about it, because this question has been around for as long as Socrates didn't exist, effectively.
Yep.
Like, what they actually wind up thinking about isn't important. It's important for them to think through this question. And what I want them to do is think about the answers to this question. And if they're plugging it into AI to do all that for them, that's not getting them to do it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things for which, yes, I can assign that assignment in class. Just like, should Socrates have stayed in prison and then been executed, or should he have left when he easily could have done that? I could do that in class, but there actually is something important about having them having the time to think through the idea and write it themselves. And I can't guarantee that they're going to do that.
Yep.
And one of the speakers in this conversation brought up an excellent point, is, like, a lot of the time, and I do know this with my own students, it's not though they're doing it because they want to cheat or even because they don't value education. Some definitely are, but not all are. Some are doing it because they're desperate and stressed. They procrastinated. They wait till the last minute. I get all that. But at the same time,
you can't separate those two.
I can't separate those two. And I do get that it's a temptation that's there, but the problem is the more and more they're relying on that temptation, the less and less they're going to critically think. And there are very real problems with it short-circuiting critical thinking. And just because, even if we do assume that AI is the future, which is, I think, still a debatable point for both of us, but if we assume that, and we assume that it is going to be something like a calculator where you can look up these ideas, you're still losing something valuable with the skill of critical thinking when you're doing this. Studies have already shown that, and AI is incredibly new.
Yeah.
And that's not to say, yes, you could look up the reasons for and against why Socrates should have stayed or left prison. That's easily something AI can do now and will be able to do in the future. But that means that you're losing the ability to think of those ideas for yourself. And that actually is important for you to do. Because someday you're going to come across a unique problem that you're going to be able to need to think through like that, and you don't have the background skill set to do it.
Yeah, that's ultimately what it comes down to. Is, like, I worry AI is going to take away students' ability to think and solve new problems, because that's just not something AI is actually capable of doing. Because it is just a regurgitation tool.
Yeah. So, yeah. And some of the educators, I think, were a little bit more optimistic about it. And I will admit, I do find it a little bit frustrating when they're just like, well, have students put something into AI, then have them, like, critique what AI is saying about it. I'm like, yeah, I've tried that. They either then just get AI to critique itself, or worst case scenario or best case scenario, they just say AI is right about everything.
Yep.
I've tried this multiple times.
Yep.
It does not work with my students. Maybe it works with yours, but it does not work with mine.
Yeah. And again, some of that might be down to subject and various other
Some of it might be
factors.
down to the procedure of the university and how much students are willing to try. But yeah. But that said, again, this had made us have conversations, and I think everyone had very good points of view about it. So.
Yeah. And again, we're in the classic world of a good academic discussion panel like that should have different viewpoints and should encourage you to think and to talk, and this did.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we disagree with quite a few of the points they were making, but like in a respectful, we can have a serious conversation about this kind of way rather than a shouting "you suck" at them way.
Yeah, and I do think all of those people would be amenable to those conversations.
I think they would.
So after that, we went to a wedding.
We did. Yeah, this was the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to say the bride and groom's name or anything like that because again, we didn't ask them permission. Bloody blue. But yeah, so this was on the main bridge.
Yep.
We went in. We were like, okay, where can we sit? Because part of the issue is partly because of your disability and partly because of your fashion choices. You do ideally need front row seats.
Yeah.
So we basically went as far over, front row, as far over on one side as we possibly could.
Mm-hmm.
And we both agreed that, like, if we got asked to move because, like, they wanted to save the front row for, like, the family or anything like that, we would just move.
Yeah.
Like, we would find other seats that would tolerate us, even if it was, like, right at the back, because that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
This was an event where, family got priority and all of that jazz. They did not, in fact, end up asking us to move. As I said earlier, the groom kind of spotted us and he came over and thanked us for attending, which I thought was really sweet.
Yeah.
And he was, in fact, in the white dress uniform from Star Trek Nemesis.
Yeah, and the bride, of course, had a reveal, as all brides should.
As all brides should. She was dressed in the Vulcan wedding attire from Amok Time.
Mm-hmm.
Good choice.
Yep. And like most weddings, this started a little bit late just because you have to wrangle a bunch of people again.
Wrangle a bunch of people, make sure everybody's there, all of that jazz.
It wasn't very well attended, though.
It was. Like, I'm pretty sure half the con came for this. Like, I feel sorry for anybody whose panel was opposite this, because I don't think they got terribly good turnout. Just because, again, this was very, very sweet.
It was. It was adorable. They sat in the captain's chair while they read each other their vows, which were personalized. It was so sweet.
I was crying.
We knew you were going to cry.
I knew I was going to cry.
The thing is, I wear enough makeup where I'm more restrained because I kind of have to be, particularly in that makeup because the butterfly makeup covers my entire eyes, so I cannot cry when I'm wearing that. Yep. I would have cried if I had been allowed to.
Yep.
But it was very sweet.
It was.
It made us feel love for each other too, like we always do.
It did. Like, this is anytime we see other people doing romantic stuff, it just kind of gets to us both, and we start thinking about our own wedding and all of that jazz. And it was just, this was adorable. Like, they had a bunch of Klingons doing a batleth arch, so they walked out underneath on the way out the room. Like, come on.
Yeah, this was so sweet. And I'm glad this person could achieve their dream of getting married in that outfit.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was just so awesome. So, and I'm glad that, because a lot of cons just won't let you do this, either because they don't have the space or the logistics or they're not willing.
Yeah. Or
they would make you pay ungodly amounts of money to do it.
Yeah, we will comment it, because next week we're going to GalaxyCon, and we were commenting on the fact that, GalaxyCon probably would let you do this if you're willing to pay them a crud of money.
Yep.
Whereas I don't think they paid the con for this. I think they asked, and the con was like, heck yeah, we can do that.
Yep.
And that's wonderful. That is community doing what community should.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was
very, very sweet.
This is so awesome. We might see another one next year.
True.
If that other couple who got engaged this time will.
Yeah. Depending on how long they want to.
And if they actually want to get married there.
Yep.
No pressure. But
no pressure.
Very awesome.
So, yeah.
So after that, we briefly went to. So there was. On the holodeck at that time, which was where your panel was, there was Power Rangers Demorphed, which I think is a fan-made Power Rangers film going on.
Which, based on the little bit I saw, I think is more of a parody rather than a straight-up fan film. because traditionally there's not that much cursing in actual Power Rangers.
Yeah. And I would have happily sat down and watched any of it, but that's when I think we realized that the coldness in that room had reached its new heights, and I'm just like, and keep in mind, I'm wearing a long sleeve dress, and I was freaking freezing.
Yeah, it was probably 50-something degrees in that room by that point.
Yeah.
Um,
And your panel was supposed to be in there.
yeah.
And I do want to emphasize, I know we've said it already, not on the con.
Not on the con. I did go to con ops and basically ask them about it, and they basically said, yep, we know, we have tried. And I do 100% believe that they'd complained to the hotel multiple times about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the con itself was very apologetic for how cold that room was.
Mm-hmm.
We went back probably, I don't know, like 20 minutes before my panel was due to start. 15, 20 minutes, somewhere in that ballpark, and started doing setup, because by that point the film had ended. And we got to about 5 o'clock, and nobody had turned up for my panel.
Yeah, which could have been for a number of reasons. You were commenting that the con at that time seemed to have far fewer people in it. And
It did seem to quiet off quite a lot at that point.
So there could have been a number of explanations. One is people were getting dinner. Two is the weather at that point is not great.
Yeah, the weather at that point had turned a bit for the extremely questionable, so it wouldn't surprise me if at least some people had just kind of looked in and gone, we should probably be getting home. Which,
yeah, fair.
It
could have been because the room was cold.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird because this would be a popular time slot at most cons, and I remember it not being last year either.
Yeah. And again, it was also right across the cosplay contest in terms of time slot.
But you said that wasn't that well attended either.
Yeah, well, because I basically at that point kind of went out and yelled at a bunch of people and just like, hey, this panel's starting soon, and at the moment there's basically nobody in there. So, but yeah, it didn't look like the cosplay contest was super well attended. Mm-hmm. It looked like maybe a quarter to half full room at most. But I did eventually manage to wrangle a whole 4 people, one of whom was the AV guy running that room.
Yep. And one of which was Lynn. Yeah, thank you, Lynn's, also for showing up.
Yes.
Because Lynn's, I think, is somewhat like us, where they just attend a bunch of conventions regardless of whether they're fans of the thing, which 100%, I see you.
Yep.
Lynn's mentioned that they went to 30 conventions this year, and I consider 30 conventions to be equal with us. I know we technically have been to slightly more, but anyone who's been up to, I think, plus 25 a year gets to be in the cool club.
Yep. You lunatics.
Yeah.
Like, we're crazy. I freely admit that.
Yeah. But we're also crazy, and we're, childless and have a decent amount of disposable income, which I fully do admit is a privilege.
Yes. And again, we also have each other to help each other in that regard.
Yeah. Lynn's is doing a lot of this by themselves, and that's a lot harder.
But yeah. So, all of 4 people for that. So,
it basically just became a group collaborative. I joined in at points.
Yep. But yeah, again.
It worked. It went okay.
It went okay.
I think some of the questions were a little bit hard. They were written, though, with the assumption that this would be a room of at least 20 people.
Yeah, I basically wrote, so specifically, I wrote the I'm Actually Trivia to be a whole bunch of different science fiction. Mm-hmm. So there's a couple of Star Trek questions in there, and then various other science fiction, which I deliberately designed the rounds to get a little bit more niche as they go. Right down to the fact that round 3 is called They Deserved Better,
yep.
Which is all based on shows that only got a single season. To be a little bit more obscure and a little bit harder. But again, it's also a show that I explicitly say, if none of the panelists know it, the audience is free to chip in, which I was assuming would make up for the fact that the panelists wouldn't necessarily know everything. But again, because of the nature of the fact there was only 4 people in the room plus you and me,
one of which I don't think has seen a lot of sci-fi, and one of which I know with the fact pretty much only watches Star Trek.
Yep.
So there were maybe 2 people who actually knew any of the other sci-fi franchises.
Yep. And again, some of them were deliberately slightly obscure just to be difficult, but it meant even the slightly more common ones were
harder
than I intended, just by the nature of
which I do think it would work in a bigger room.
Yes.
It's just it's hard to predict the crowd being that particular way. So.
Yeah.
But the bright side is you have it now, and you can do other stuff with it.
I have it. Yep, I can use it again at a different con.
And I do say, our comedy, I think, saved it a little bit, because we were making jokes that I think people at least liked. So.
Yes.
So yeah, I do want to do this again. I just think we need a bigger, better room for it.
Yes, it's not even bigger room. It's just more people in the room.
More people.
And that's not on the con either.
It's not.
I think a couple of things screwed me over. One was just the heating in the room was broken, and by that point, a lot of people knew that and just didn't want to go in there, which is fair.
Second is there was just straight up Star Trek trivia right after, which I assume might be a little bit more popular.
Quite possibly.
It was dinner time. It was cold.
There was an active snowstorm starting outside, so a lot of people probably just went home.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, it went fine. It definitely could have gone a lot better. But thank you to the people who did attend. I hope you had fun.
Yes. And I think it's something we'll try again next year. Maybe we'll focus a little bit more on just Star Trek next year, though, since it is a Star Trek con.
Maybe. Again, we'll think about it.
Mm-hmm. And there's also other sci-fi cons where I think we could do this.
Yeah. Yeah, I might bring this, pretty much this exact panel to Concoction.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think they'd probably also appreciate it. But we'll see. But yeah, so a little disappointing, I'm not going to lie, but not on the con itself.
Yeah. Stuff like that just happens sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes you get a low turnout to your panel, and oh well. But yeah. So what did we do after that?
After that, we went to McDonald's.
Oh yeah.
Or Wendy's, I think, technically.
Yeah. Yeah, we basically went to go grab some food because we had a little bit of a break. We did, after we got food at Wendy's, we did contemplate just going back to the Airbnb because it was starting to get a little snowy and stormy and all of that jazz, and we were a little concerned. But we decided no, there was some late night stuff we wanted to try at this convention because we're bad at going to late night stuff at cons.
And we wanted to this con.
And we wanted to at this con.
We stayed till like 11, which is late for us.
That's actually very late by our standards.
I think it was like technically 10:30, but it's fine.
Oh, it was 11.
It was 11. Yeah, it's good. So then we went to open mic.
Yes.
Which is open mic panels generally tend to be about music performances, but occasionally cons, particularly sci-fi cons, have ones that are about writing and reading works that you've written, which both of us are writers to some extent. Yep.
So this was just a very low-key event. It was in the writing room, or one of the two writers' rooms. It was interesting. So they had two different rooms that were labeled as the writer's room, one of which was more like panel setup with like a desk at the front and seating facing it, and one was more of like a round table setup. This one was in the round table one, and the panel that we did later after that was in the other one, and it was, it worked perfectly fine. I'm just curious to know why the particular decision was that they were kind of both listed as.
They didn't explain it at one point, but I will admit I was not paying attention.
Yeah. I did hear the explanation. It was kind of confusing.
Yeah. I think it was just something about maybe some people would want a projector and some people wouldn't, or something round tables work better. That's my best guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, this had a bunch of people who were like all doing stuff they've written. Poetry stuff, some published, some on. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So you and I both, did some stuff. As per usual, you are a really phenomenal writer, but I know you're a little uncomfortable reading your own stuff aloud.
Well, it's also like a lot of the stuff I write, just given that I do a lot in the romance genre, is from male perspective, so I do think it happens to have your voice.
Yeah, that's fair. One of them was one I've performed for you before, and one of them was a different one.
Yeah.
Or one that I haven't done for you before.
Speaking of which, if you want to record that for me as a Christmas present, I would not say no.
Okay, I can think about it. I'll see if I've got time.
And I don't really want to share too much about the writing just because I don't know how comfortable these people are with their work being shared publicly. Some are published, so obviously they would be, but not all of them are.
Yeah.
And some of them are sharing stuff that's very intimate. Like one person was singing songs that they wrote, and they said that was like their third time ever even singing songs in front of people. They were very good, but like these are very intimate like stories for a lot of people who are sharing them in a positive environment. And the person who was running it, I thought was very good to point out that this is sharing, this isn't criticism, so any feedback that you were giving had to just be positive compliments, which I appreciate a lot. Because sharing your writing is a very vulnerable thing, and sometimes you're asking for critical feedback, and sometimes you're not, and I really, as somebody who generally does not like critical feedback at time periods where I'm not asking for critical feedback, particularly about writing, which is a very vulnerable thing, I really appreciated them saying this was a positive feedback-only space, so. Which everyone was very good about keeping. I was very impressed with all the writers in the room.
Oh, yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah, we can't really say too much about the individual pieces just because we don't know what people are comfortable sharing with a broader audience who wasn't in that room, which is fair.
And like the thing of mine that I read out was like a chunk of the prologue to something I kind of been writing on and off. I did contemplate doing the entire prologue, and I got like halfway through it and realized how much of it was left and how long I'd been talking. I was like, okay, I'm probably going to stop there just because you don't need to hear the entire prologue.
Yeah, this was fun. It made me want to write again, which is always...
That's always a good sign for something like that.
So after that, we took a brief bathroom break, and then we were back in the other half of the writer's room that time.
Yep.
For the spice of fantasy writing. And we are a Safe for Work podcast,
so there's only so much we could say about this one. But no, this was a fun panel.
It was a panel. It was a drunk panel in the best possible way.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you just need to get drunk and talk about sex stuff, and that was exactly what this panel was.
Yep.
Pretty much exactly.
Yep. Yeah, just kind of talking about writing.
And making sex jokes.
Yep.
With some other stuff going on, too.
Yep.
It got wild. And this is also the panel where people discovered that they could just tease you and make your face go red.
Yeah.
And since then, and going into Sunday, it was just fodder.
Yeah. It's fine. I'm not actually embarrassed. You know that, right?
People were actually flirting with you a lot, which was also fun.
Again, I've got this accent.
I know.
A lot.
And people flirt with me, too. It's just...
Yep.
With you, they're a little bit more overt.
Again, keep in mind, a lot of these people are, like... The people doing it were largely female-coded, and, like...
And for the record, if any of them happen to be listening to this, I'm not remotely jealous. No. I don't care. Please flirt with him. It's honestly more of a turn-on than anything else for me.
That's fair. Okay, now I'm a little embarrassed. At least it's not you trying to pimp me out to the furries again.
Yeah. Generally, anytime we've been flirted with at cons, it's always been a positive interaction that we've enjoyed.
Yeah.
At least for me.
Yep.
There have been a couple of creepy moments.
Smokes, that's a lot of geese.
For other people? Yeah, geese. But, like, generally, this is very, like, the sex positivity at this con was great.
It was. Again, we're all Star Trek nerds.
Yep.
We're all weirdos. Like, I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, like, this panel was completely chaotic, but in, like, fun ways.
Yep. At one point, the con photographer came up and just stood in the doorway.
Yeah, he was there, and then he realized, like, quite how off the rails the discussion had gotten, and was, like, actively, like, you know, deer in the headlights moment of, well, this is kind of embarrassing. Which, of course, led to the panelists noticing he was there and teasing him for it. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
Or teasing them for it. I shouldn't assume pronouns.
Yeah. So, yeah, this was off the walls bonkers and fun. Just kind of what you need from a late night panel.
Yeah. So that took us until, what, 10?
10.
Yeah.
And then the person who was running this panel had a room party that, in theory, started at 10:30.
And we were like, we've never really done room parties at cons, or we keep meaning to.
We did it once at the Steampunk Con.
Yes.
So we looked on the door, because I will say, it's also unclear with room parties the extent to which they're open invite versus not, because sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. In this case, it was pretty clear that they were, because the room parties and where they were just on the door of the, like, registration.
Yep. They were also very easy to find, just based on, like, they were on the ground floor, just kind of round the corner from the, like, actual con.
Like, you had to walk maybe 30 feet.
Yep. So that was convenient. So, yeah, so we figured, yeah, what the hey, we'll hang around for half an hour.
See if the room parties actually started.
Yep. If not, we'll head back to the Airbnb.
Yep. So, then we just hung out and played Heads Up, and then we saw Lynn's heading out, so we said goodbye to them.
Say goodbye to them.
Worth staying just to say goodbye to them.
Yep.
And we do know they got home safely, because I kind of did the mom thing of, like, text me when you get home, please.
Yeah.
It's really slippery.
Because you're driving for, like, 4 hours, and it's 10 o'clock. Like, be safe.
Yeah. I think they got in at 4 a.m. because they emailed us.
Yeah.
Or Zay did.
Zay did, yep. Yeah, or Zay, yeah. Sorry, pronouns. Yeah, but again, we're glad to know that they are safe.
Yes. So. And we hope to see them at a future con. Them. I said them.
I did.
I'm trying.
Yeah. Pronouns are hard.
They are, but I do think we should normalize they, them, or Zezer, because they are important to get right, and I think it's worth changing our language to be more friendly to the non-binary folk.
Yes.
Because if we change our language, that means gender structure is less rigid, and that's good.
Yep.
So we did that. Then we went to the room party, which One thing we didn't account for was how small the hotel room was, which again, not on the person hosting the party.
Yeah.
So we had a couple, like, both kind of funny, awkward, but in a very funny way things of, one, there were a bunch of people standing outside the room who were too afraid to go in.
Yep, which was kind of hilarious in its own way.
Yep. Some of whom were challenging you on your height.
Yeah. One of them was like, wait, how tall are you? I'm like, 6'6". He hates you. Like, I'm only 6'3". I just wear lifts.
And then for whatever reason, all the male-coded folk were like, you need to go into the room first because we feel awkward about it because we're male-coded. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Language, honey.
Whatever.
Congratulations, you just used a one F-bomb that we're allowed.
So we got into the room. One, we were tired. Two, it was kind of clear that we couldn't stay long. Like, everyone was very personable, and I think we could have hung out for longer. It's just, I was in a giant ball gown.
Yep.
That room was not big. There were multiple people at this con with handicapped accessible issues. Not on them. But trying to get everyone to where the drinks were at the end and back was not that feasible. I was effectively on a bed, so...
Yeah, you were just sat on the bed for a while.
Yeah. And like this monarch pool of poof, so...
Yeah. Which again, it was fun.
It was definitely fun. It's just not something that was really sustainable for us for much longer than that.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that they did it.
I am too. Like, it was fun. And again, I got myself a lemonade because they did have non-alcoholic beverages as well, which was a good choice.
There were also raspberry margaritas and chocolate wine.
Yeah.
So.
Both of which sounded interesting. Like, again, if I hadn't had to drive back, I might have been tempted. Again, they were also... I will say this. When I went up to them and they asked what I wanted, I said, well, unfortunately, I've got to drive back to an Airbnb in like half an hour. So lemonade it is. And I'm like, good, you understand, and are not judging me for not drinking. Thank you.
Yep.
Because sometimes if you're at an event like this and you aren't drinking alcohol, you will get judged for it. There was zero judgment here, and I appreciate that fact.
Well, I do think it also helps that Treks are very Trekkies are very friendly to disabilities generally compared to a lot of cons, and like a lot of people with disabilities can't drink for one reason or another. So, which is very nice. So, we hung out for about like 15-ish minutes and
20 minutes in the ballpark.
Which, not on them, that's about as long as we could have lasted anyway, but just with the space and the fact that we were tired. But I'm proud of us for going, and I did have fun.
Yep, so did I. Yeah. So at that point, headed back to the Airbnb.
There were definitely still people next door, but the children weren't screaming anymore, so that's good.
So we managed to just kind of collapse.
Yep.
Which is fine.
And then I woke up at 6:30 because my body hates me.
So yeah, so we got up the next day, packed up the Airbnb, all
I was wearing my fancy green dress.
Yep.
Yeah, I just do think I need to start asking, because people always ask me about my character concepts. Most of my characters are just original character concepts.
Yep.
Like, just they're costumes I like wearing and feel good in.
Yep.
And I might develop personalities for the characters at some point. I'll just have that happen naturally.
Yep.
And at this point, we went to the StarBase Indy board meeting, which I love it when cons let you look behind the curtain. It's one of my favorite things, is a con reporter.
Yep.
We're reporters.
We are sort of reporters.
We're journalists.
Ugh. Technically, I suppose. But yeah, so this was very interesting to see. So, this involved the board talking a little bit about this year's con, plans for next year, and also doing their annual election, because they have a board of, I believe they said 6, and every year 2 of them basically wrap up their term, and then 2 more get elected onto the board. And former board members are part of the quote-unquote Science Council, which is basically former board members that have an advisory role but don't have any voting power, which is it's interesting, like, as a concept, because that does, it lets them stay involved, it lets them help without controlling it, which I think probably does have a bunch of benefits.
Yeah.
We've not really seen this particular arrangement before, at least. It's entirely possible other cons have similar arrangements, they just don't talk about them, whereas this one does. Like, we actively got to participate in the voting process.
Yeah, we don't know who won, because they were going to announce that later that day.
Yeah, because they needed a tally.
Yeah.
But specifically, so they had 4 potential candidates for the board.
Yeah, we got the sense that board, at some cons, there's definitely, power grabs and stuff that go on where it's like there's competitiveness and there's like drama about who gets to control the cons and spots.
Yep.
We did not get the sense that was like that here at all.
No.
It seemed like the most part people who were running for board positions were there because they wanted to keep the con alive and moving forward.
Yes.
So. And they did point out that one of the reasons they were having this meeting at 9 a.m. was to see who really cared about the con because they were willing to show up to a 9 a.m. Sunday meeting. So.
Yep. Which is a valid reason to do that.
Yeah, I will admit we were mostly there in part because I love behind the scenes stuff, but also just because we had to check out our Airbnb anyway.
Yeah.
We're just like, we'll go to this. There's nothing else on. This is interesting.
Sense.
But I love stuff like this. This is part of the reason I love TECO also. It's just like any con that lets you see the inner workings of it as a con geek, just quite literally, is awesome. So it was nice to see what they were talking about, and that's how we got some insight about what's going on with the hotel contracts and stuff like that.
Yeah, namely the fact that as of this recording, they have not yet signed their contract for next year because they're finagling some stuff. Yeah. Which again, that happens. They're trying to decide. Like, I'm going to be honest, my personal opinion is that the Thanksgiving weekend is a good weekend for them. Yeah, the balance that you have to have is the Thanksgiving weekend. You probably are getting less people than you might on other weekends, and I do get that. But at the same time, they pointed out that Thanksgiving you get a bigger discount from the hotel, which was actually surprising to me. I suppose it makes sense. You would think that Thanksgiving would be a popular weekend for hotels, but I suppose most people just stay with family. Nobody wants the convention space at that time. Yeah, it's true. So you get a discount on rooms, but the rooms are also discounted, is my point. You would think that the rooms wouldn't be discounted because they would be a very high demand time, but maybe they're not. Maybe they're not. Who knows? If you get a discount there, it's great for people who don't care about their families. There's quite a large subsect of the population who doesn't, for a variety of reasons. And it's just a nice, like, most people have this weekend off anyway, which is a really nice perk. Yes, like, we were able to do 3 days at this con without me having to use up any of my PTO, which I very much appreciate. And yeah, they were commenting about competing with Black Friday, but Black Friday you can mostly do online, I'll be honest. Yeah, these days most of it is done online. Except for Squishmallows. Yeah. And again, this particular con doesn't start until midday-ish on Friday, so. And they did comment that part of the reason they hadn't secured a hotel next year is basically because they didn't offer them a discount for basically signing up immediately. So they were like, well, if you're not going to give us a discount, then we're going to explore options because there's no incentive for us not to do that. Yeah. Which I think is fair, given that the hotel was also under construction. And based on some things that were said, I don't think the con entirely knew prior to this weekend that it was going to be. Yes, I'm not sure how much heads up about that they got, which is not great. Yeah. So I hope they find a space that works for them. I do kind of hope that they keep the weekend the same. Yeah. I will say it didn't sound like they were negotiating hotel contracts, but it didn't sound like they were in any danger of not having the con happen at all, which is good. I think that big concern is just having enough young, able-bodied volunteers who can lug heavy things for them, which I fully get is it's a problem. Yeah. I get that. And, like, we would volunteer to help with that, but particularly, like, next week is the last week of class. I have to be there Monday morning, and I can't get back a lot later, given the amount of prep I have to do for going into finals week. Yeah. That said, if I bring a group of students next year, I can probably help out more. Yeah. Like, again, if we can finagle a busload of students, if you're willing to give them, like, a discount rate, like, we will get them to volunteer. Yeah. But again, that's a conversation we can have with them. Just be very clear that you have to give them very, very specific directions. Yeah, if you do not give them specific directions, they will run around like chickens with their heads cut off. Yeah, make sure you've got somebody, like, overseeing them, but, like... They mean well. It's just anytime they're faced with a new situation, they just kind of panic. Yeah, they're teenagers, basically. But they're good teenagers. They are. They're good beans. You know, just specific instruction is going to help. But again, we don't know if we'll be able to organize that next year. We'd like to. I think it would actually be really good. So, those were, I think, the main things that came up at the board meeting. Yep. But it was nice to see behind the scenes, and it's nice to know that people still want the con to thrive. After that, we kind of, I think, we did Working Together Fact or Fiction, also in comms. Yep. So we actually went to the vendors hall first. No, we didn't, because those were right after each other. Oh, I guess we did because the meeting ended early. Yeah, okay. The meeting ended. Yeah, because the meeting ended at like 35 past, something like that. Yeah. We went to the vendors hall. Yes. And this is where I actually bought you a Christmas present. Yes, and your parents a Christmas present. Yes. Well, I bought my mother a Christmas present at this point. My dad's got slightly later in the day. Yes.
So you've bought me Christmas presents from the same vendor for the past 3 years.
Yep. Do you want to?
Yes, I'll read it.
Yep.
So this is Cara Greenleaf Designs. We'll put their links in the show notes.
Yep.
Who makes custom chainmail jewelry and scale armor.
Yep. So yeah, like I got you something from her for the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Just because because of when StarBase Indy is, it's a good con for me to do a little bit of light Christmas shopping at. And you like her stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think you've liked the things I've got you the last couple of years.
I absolutely do. They're great.
So at this point, it's become kind of a tradition.
Mm-hmm.
Which is cute.
And because your parents are coming over here this year, we got your mom something.
Yeah. So, yeah. I'm not going to say what either of those things was, just because,
I doubt your parents are listening to this, but you never know.
Probably not, but you never know. But again, it's jewelry.
Yep.
But it's nice and it's unique and it's
Yeah. And this was definitely the part of the weekend where everyone was just kind of playing with each other because there were multiple jokes for your nights going around the room because a lot of people who we happened to see prior were hanging out in there. So it was very fun.
It was. Yeah. So I basically
you bought your mom something, then I went out of the room.
Yeah,
at which point I had multiple conversations with people just about my outfit out in the hallway.
Yeah, I basically chivied you out so I could buy you something without you seeing it.
Yeah. But it was a lot of fun. And again, cons where people just talk to you. So I took a bunch of pictures outside and stuff like that where you were doing that.
Yep. So after that, what did we do? Yes, then we went to the what was it, the teamwork panel? What was it officially called?
It was working together in fact or fiction that was basically talking about how people collaborate.
Yeah.
Which was actually really interesting. Both of the people who were on this panel were very well spoken and had a lot of really interesting ideas.
Yeah.
I will admit my attention span was a little shot at this point. But they had a lot of interesting ideas, and I really did like how they talk about when hierarchy is necessary versus when it's not, and trying to decentralize hierarchy a lot because it's not needed in a lot of collaborations. I think is really good.
Yeah, it was interesting his comment about when you're writing fiction, a group of about 6 characters is usually about the optimum level. Like there's a reason why in the first Avengers movie, for example, it's a team of 6 people.
There's also a reason why that's the typical adventuring party in most role-playing games.
Yep. I was basically going to say, if you're looking at a D&D table, typically 4 to 6 is about what you're aiming for.
Mm-hmm.
It's what I aim for when I put together my current tabletop group. Purely because more than that, and it gets unmanageable, and less than that, there's kind of not enough variation in personality. But again, it was interesting to hear somebody talking about effectively the same concept, but from a slightly different direction. And one of the panelists at one point referenced a bunch of different shows, and I was like, I like this person just from their references.
You bought their book later.
I bought one of their books later, yeah. So that was fun. But yeah, that was an interesting panel. I'm glad we went to that. After that, we went to go look at the silent auction.
Yes.
We did actually go look at this on Saturday. So
Briefly.
So they were doing this multiple.
Yeah, I will say on Friday I wasn't aware it was going on until they mentioned it at opening ceremonies. Because I would have looked at it on Friday also, but I didn't know what was going on.
Yep.
But they did mention it at opening, which meant we could check it out Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
And they did have different items each day. So.
Yes. So the basic principle of how the silent auction worked was it was silent auctions. You went in, they had a bunch of items around the room, and they all had list prices and that kind of stuff.
So yeah, on Saturday they did also have some garage sale items you could just purchase. So on Saturday you got an item for actually trivia that we wound up not giving away because there weren't enough people in the room.
It's fine. I'll hang on to it for the next time I do that.
For a similar reason, we also now have, I think, what is it, a Blues Clues VHS tape?
Yep, it's a Blues Clues VHS cassette, which I was going to give away as the second prize as kind of a joke, which we now just have.
Yep. We'll give it away eventually.
Yep.
Honestly, we'll just give it away. Why don't we just put that in an auction at a free con? Someone will bid on it.
Someone will bid on that, yeah. But yeah, we'll figure out something to do with it. But anyway. But yeah, so we went around and looked, and when we went in on Sunday, we were basically told that they were aware that a lot of people needed to leave early. So if there was an item that you wanted that nobody else had bid on yet, you could just pay the list price and take it then and there. which I ended up doing with one of the items.
Yes, which
I'm
is
not going to say what it was because this is going to be Dad's Christmas present.
yep. I think he will like it a lot though. It's very
I think
unique.
he will. Yeah.
So after that, we briefly went into the vendors hall to talk to that person.
Yep.
You bought the book.
Bought their book.
And after that, we just kind of did some winding down stuff, I think.
Yeah.
It was only like 11 a.m. at this point, but I wanted to get food.
Yeah, you wanted to hit up Seasons on the way out of town, before we got on the road. So we kind of said goodbye to a few people.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of chilled out. You got changed.
Yeah. Before that, I did run into a person who was also dressed elaborately. We got pictures together, which was awesome. I'm glad I caught them because that was right before we were about to leave.
Yeah, we were literally heading to a bathroom where you could get changed, and they spotted you and you spotted them, and they was like, it was a real game recognizes game moment. So you two had to get a picture together, which was really cute. And then you got changed. We said goodbye to a couple of people, and we hit the road
briefly.
And then we came back.
Yep.
So we
ran into some triple trouble.
Yeah, so we got to the restaurant, which was about a 15-ish, 20-ish minute drive.
Yep.
Because we knew we wanted to eat there before we headed home.
Yeah, I feel bad that we didn't plan a MacGuffin in the story earlier.
Yeah, this is true. But yeah, and we got there and we realized that, so today you were carrying around our Tribble.
Yes.
That we have recently named Melvin.
For reasons that are too complicated to explain.
Yeah. But we've had our Tribble for a while.
Mm-hmm.
We acquired it. Was it GalaxyCon or was it Anime?
I think it was Anime.
Yeah. Like a while ago, specifically when it got thrown at you by a Captain Kirk cosplayer from a wrestling ring.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Again, there's a great memory attached to that because that was the con where we were just hanging out with the wrestlers the whole weekend, and there was a lot of fun moments with them, and like that Tribble actually has a lot of sentimental value to me.
It does. And yeah, we realized we'd left it behind.
Mm-hmm.
Because I asked you if you had it, because I don't even know why I suddenly realized that we did.
Mm-hmm.
You realized you didn't have it. We were just pulling into the restaurant car park at that point, so I basically parked us up, went and checked the car to see if it had just got plonked somewhere without either of us really thinking about it, and it hadn't. So we decided we were going to go back to the con to go find it.
Yes.
So 15-minute drive back. And we kind of split up to search for it.
Yes, it wound up just being in the chair by the door where I was sitting waiting for you when you were like bringing my clothes in so I could get changed. Yeah. Con. So we found it relatively quickly.
We did.
And I will say this con, in general, one of my favorite kind of meta things about it is tribbles are being made at that con. Like there's places where you can make tribbles. So across the weekend, there are just more and more tribbles around the con space.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, which again, if you know what tribbles are like, you understand why. That's funny.
Yeah, but our Tribble is special, so I'm glad we found it.
Yes. Our Tribble,
we know for sure, 100% sure it was ours.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like any of the other Tribbles, so.
No disparaging anybody else who has a Tribble, but our Tribble is the best Tribble. Yeah. So again, I'm glad we were able to find it. We would have been sad if we...
Yeah, the con space did seem very quiet at that point.
Yes. Sorry. I do think a lot of people were leaving around the time we were.
The weather is still kind of iffy, and I think a lot of people wanted to get home before dark. So, plus a lot of people probably have to work on Monday. So,
and there are quite a few people who come from out of state for this one. We were actually discussing that at the board meeting. At least one person apparently came from Canada.
Nice.
Good for them. So it's a small con, but it's very it's a loyal con in that regard.
It's probably less than 500 people.
Probably. Again, we're bad at estimating.
We've talked about that.
Numbers.
And it's hard just because depending on how much space you have, a con can either look full or empty, even if it's not really. So, yeah, that was, and then we finally did get food, and now we're on the ready to drive home.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah, that was what we did.
So we'll talk about some of the things we didn't do, because I always forget that segment recently.
Yep.
So there's quite a lot. This con does have a lot of programming.
Yes.
So they do have a feedback panel that we didn't have time to attend, but they do have one.
Yep.
They have photo opportunities, Q&As. This con doesn't have the budget for a lot of celebrities, but they do have a couple local writers and stuff like that show up, which are pretty cool.
Yep. They did have a guest of honor who was, I believe, an actress from some horror movies or something along those lines.
Yeah, occasionally they can get like people who play minor roles in Star Trek, which is absolutely fine. This
Yeah.
con's not celebrity focused.
Nope.
They do have a trying to think of what it's called. Blah blah blah. The lab basically is a place where you can do any type of workshop stuff. Where you're building stuff out of crafts.
So there was, like tribbles, and one of them was Borgify your bear.
Yeah.
Which is kind of adorable.
They were doing engineering marble runs. A lot of this is geared towards kids. Not all of it is. Robotics, anything. And pretty much all of this is free. Like, these are workshops that are free. You can just freely make your own tribble. That's awesome. Gaming space we didn't really go into. They had a couple Blood on the Clock towers going on. That tends to be pretty standard at cons.
Yep.
It's no secret we don't really like Blood on the Clock tower. That's not judging anyone who plays it. It's just not our game.
Yeah. Again, it's mostly just a case of we're not massive fans of hidden role games.
Mm-hmm. It just devolves into gaslighting.
Yeah.
And also people yell at you about how to play, which isn't targeting anyone who does play. It's just every time we played Blood on the Clock Tower, people have told us we're not playing it correctly, and it's just gotten kind of lame.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Especially. Anyway.
Magic the Gathering tournaments. Chef Joe in Klingon-based food boards, also in the lab. Very cool.
Yep.
A lot of writing panels and how to improve your writing. Also improv writing. That actually seemed fun.
Yep. Again, this is very much this is the kind of convention where I regret the fact that we couldn't go to more stuff.
Yeah.
Just because either, like, panels were across from each other, or just we were exhausted, I'm not going to lie. And that's not on the con. It's just, again, sometimes you can't make it to a specific thing even though you want to, and that's...
Sometimes that stuff is across from each other. So yeah, building a costume. There were a lot of cosplay panels. There were a couple of like films that I think were independently made.
Yep.
A lot of very cool stuff. Open mic, a dance party, a bunch of stuff. So yeah, that was StarBase Indy.
Yeah. So, are we up to top con moments?
I think so.
Yeah. I believe... Is your turn to go first or mine? I've lost
I don't remember. Do you have something or you want me to go first?
Up to you.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go take my bioethics and Star Trek panel. I thought it went really well this time. It was a lot of fun to give.
That is fair.
And as a reminder, these aren't in any particular order. They're just moments of the con we liked.
Yeah. I'm actually going to go with the spicy writing panel just because it was...
I was going to pick it if you weren't.
Yeah, it was complete chaos in all the right ways.
Yeah.
Like, it was fun. Like, everybody there understood the assignment and was having a blast with it.
I will go with that 2-hour conversation we had with Linz and that other person whose name I did not get permission to say.
Yep.
That was awesome.
That was pretty good.
And that is the part of myself that is an extrovert. I'm somebody who just loves hanging out and talking for people for 2 hours. It's some of my favorite stuff. So that was just awesome.
Fun amount of roadworks. At least we're not on that side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Throat's going a bit dodgy. I did actually really enjoy the writing panel. Or the open mic writing panel where we were just like reading stuff we'd written. I don't get to do that terribly often. And again, I love the fact that every so often when I do these kind of things, people are like, are you available to do audiobooks? I'm like, if you give me money, absolutely. Is my honest answer to that. Like, no joke, if you have something you want me to read, if you have a book you have written and you do not have an audiobook narrator lined up, I will do that.
He's very good at it.
Like, we would need to have a conversation about, like, to what degree I would expect to get paid and all of that jazz. Like, that is a conversation I'm very open to having, is the best way to put it. And I will tell you this for free. I don't care how spicy your book is, I will read it for you.
Yep.
So yeah. Your turn?
I think we'll just take the wedding. It was a lot of fun and very sweet.
That would have been my third pick if you hadn't taken it. I was tearing up. It was adorable.
I mean, you can have that one if you want me to come up with a different one if you have one.
No. Give me a second while I think. Honestly, finding that one random thing that my dad is getting as a Christmas present, like, nice. I can't talk too much about it because, like, they don't listen to this podcast, but at the same time, I don't think they listen to it. But at the same time, like, I want it to be a surprise when they turn up because they're coming over for Christmas this year.
Yep.
So it's not like I even have to ship it. He's got to worry about how he gets it back to the UK. Probably because it's pretty fragile, but that's his problem.
In my bonus one will be everyone teasing you.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that was StarBase Indy.
That was.
Now for our incredibly scientific rating system.
Yes, we grade on a simple scale. Would we go back?
Which, as a reminder, is an entirely subjective rating system that means nothing to other people whatsoever.
Yep.
We originally had a more stringent rating system when we thought of the idea for this podcast.
And then we decided that grading things on a scale was just kind of dumb and mean.
Yeah, that's lame. You shouldn't grade creativity, and that's what cons are at their base.
Yeah. So the thing you have to keep in mind with our would we go back scale is there are a number of factors that go into it.
Which are entirely, like, relative to us.
Yes. One of which is, like, this is a 3.5 hour drive, which is a big ask.
Yeah, and if it's not like if you live in Indianapolis, you should obviously go to this con.
Yeah, like we'd love it a bit. Some of it is cost, like how much the tickets cost, and is it worth it? And like, if it's a longer drive and we're going for multiple days, that does mean we have to get an Airbnb. Like, it's not practical for us to go all 3 days to this con and drive back and forth. Like, we have to stay overnight, and that puts the cost up. Whereas like GalaxyCon that we're going to next week, like, if GalaxyCon wasn't in Columbus, we probably wouldn't bother going to it. Yeah, which it means that the differences in what makes a con worth going to are kind of vague and very specific to us. But the answer for this con is 100% yes.
Yes.
Like, I love this con to bits.
Yeah. If we can't go next year, it's going to be entirely logistics, and we know that.
Like,
again, I'm talking about taking a bus of students to this.
Yeah.
This is.
I would like to do that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I would too. It would take some planning. I don't know if it's in the cards for next year, but I'm hoping within the next couple years
it might be something we can try.
Yeah. That said, just if anyone's from the cons listening to this, if I am planning it for next year, I do need dates as soon as humanly possible.
Yes.
So keep that in mind.
Yeah. Just so you can start like laying the groundwork with the kids and all of that jazz, and the university. But again, I love this con to bits. It's got all kinds of. It feels very like nice and sweet, homely, and all of that good stuff that I like from a con. And it's pretty unique in terms of like also. It feels like it cares about education in a way that a lot of cons don't, and like a lot of cons don't need to. Like. Education, is not a focus of most anime cons because that's not the point. Whereas it really does feel like this one cares about, like, Gene's vision of that utopian future does clearly include the fact that, like, the Federation has really good education. Like, we see small children dealing with calculus as a thing in Star Trek because they just got that quality of education. Using an example from Deep Space Nine, like, Nog is kind of in a rough spot at the beginning of the show, at least in part because he just has not been educated worth a dang. And Jake takes the time to help him with that, and as a result, he goes on to join Starfleet, be the first Ferengi in Starfleet, and be a damn good Starfleet officer. Like, it does in a lot of ways show that education matters, and I feel like this con has taken that lesson on board. Like, it is constantly trying to educate the public about, like, interesting topics that are raised by Star Trek in particular and science fiction in general, and I really adore that about it.
I also think just in a modern day and age, it's not as though the future shouldn't be looked at with a critical lens, because it definitely should, and it's not as though every technological innovation necessarily is always good, but there's so much negativity about the future generally that having a positive futurism in the world, I think right now is very important.
Yeah.
Are you actually crying?
Tiny bit, it's fine.
You cried everything.
As we have pointed out, I once cried when we bought a sofa. So, Like, we've literally had somebody walk past us at con and go, oh, look, there's a couple with the sensitive husband. Like, it's my thing. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very good con. I hope it continues to grow. Like, there aren't that many Star Trek conventions anymore. And I think there still need to be.
Yeah.
And it is nice to have these type of cons that aren't celebrity focused, that are just legitimately about liking the thing, where you have these type of intellectual conversations where everyone wants to get to know each other, and it's just great.
It is. And again, I love this con. I want it to continue. Like, I'm already looking forward to next year. Again, it's just, this is a good one. Like, there are plenty of cons we go to that are perfectly fine, that I'm happy to go to again. This is one that I do actively look forward to. And I'm very glad we did 3 days this year.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we made more connections with people this year than we have in previous years, largely because we were there all day Saturday and like a decent chunk of Friday and Sunday. Mm-hmm. Whereas in past years, because we've only done it as a one-dayer in the past, again, we've been getting up at like 5 a.m., driving for 3.5 hours, like then leaving at like 5-ish just because we couldn't stay much later than that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice to have this kind of longer spiel. I do think we'll, at the very least, try to go 3 days next year regardless. So
again, if it's on the same weekend, that's pretty easy. If it ends up being a different weekend, we'll figure it out. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm trying to wrangle more work from home from the university. We'll see how that goes. But yeah. So yeah, that was StarBase Indy. Do we have anything else we want to say?
I think that pretty much covers it. These try to be pretty thorough reviews. We've been talking for like 2.5, 3 hours, which I think is good enough.
Yeah, so that's about average.
So next we're going to GalaxyCon. I will admit I'm mostly just excited to see Bridget and James.
Yep.
Not much else.
Yeah. Again, it also doesn't help that GalaxyCon. So GalaxyCon, I think, is costing us about the same as this one did. Mm-hmm. In fact, I think it's costing us more than this one did.
Yeah.
And this one we had to get an Airbnb for.
Yeah.
GalaxyCon ticket prices are BS.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that in the GalaxyCon episode.
We will.
So yeah, thank you very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you were somebody who met us at the con, thank you. We had a great time with all of you. And if we don't see you before next year, hopefully we'll see you next year. And yeah, I think that's all I've got. Anything you want to?
Yeah. Thank you guys for being awesome. This was a really great weekend. I had a lot more fun than I expected to this weekend, and I expected to have fun to begin with. So
yeah,
thanks for being awesome. Thanks for showing us how awesome Star Trek is.
Yeah.
Well, like showing me how awesome Star Trek is. You already know.
I already know. I keep trying to get you to watch more science fiction.
TV bores me.
I know. But yeah.
So we'll see you next week for GalaxyCon. Week after that, we might be off for a bit as we get into the holiday season. There are fewer cons to go to.
Yep.
Just annoying because we have more days off work.
You do.
Yeah. Plus, that weekend I think is graduation. I don't want to go. So December graduation is worse than normal graduation.
It is.
No one likes it.
No, it's cold. It's miserable. Like, it sucks.
Well, it's also just like there's like 20 kids, and none of them even really want a graduation ceremony.
Yeah. Again, they do graduate all the MOT people. Mm-hmm. That's Master of Occupational Therapy, if you're curious. But yeah, I do kind of agree that, like, yeah. Anywho.
This is why we need a consistent outro.
Yeah. I can write one if you care.
No. It's lame. It has to be organic.
Okay.
So we will see you guys next week, probably, for GalaxyCon.
Yep.
And keep in mind, the week after that, we might be doing a con-based game show with pop culture, choreography, and Wetlands Ninja for episode.
Maybe.
And then the week after that, we might be doing top con moments of the year. So
yeah.
We'll see you soon.
We will see you soon.
Bye.
Thank you very much for listening. Bye.